I'll second, Mike. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will Secretary please call the roll?
Chris Haffey. Here. Anita Blake. Here. Matthew Bowman here. Paul Calaluse. Here. Casey Downs.
Here.
John Helsinger.
Here.
John Kaderis.
Here.
Earl Kurtz.
Here.
Jim McKinney.
Here.
Jeff Natale. Tom Selmont. Sean Strollo. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can you read the call?
Oh, I gotta read the charge.
We've got unfinished business. Birdside Development application.
Call application for re-subdivision on behalf of Birdsey Development LLC applicant. Applicant is requesting a 25 relot subdivision on property located at 466 Academy Road, Assessor's Map 58, Lot 45, and Academy Road Assessor's Map 58, Lot 47, Zone R20. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself at this point.
Okay. And we can, the alternate may be seated.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with SLR, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant for the re-subdivision application known as Farm Meadow Preserve. At the last meeting, a month ago, roughly, 4 weeks ago, we presented our application and took comments from the public and from the commission. And subject to that opening of the public hearing, we've provided responses to the only remaining comment that the town engineering department had with regard to sightlines, showing to their satisfaction that the driveways and roadways proposed on both Academy Road and Weiss Road are suitable and safe in accordance with town and DOT standards for stopping site and intersection site distance. With that, we had also addressed all the comments from the fire marshal, who verbally indicated to Mr. Glidden that he was satisfied with the placement of hydrants. And as was the case previously, we have no change to any other elements of the site plan that would affect any of the proposed septic systems or impact Chess Procot, or impact the approval that Chess Procot granted, excuse me. And so with that, the substance of our application is unchanged, and we've addressed all the comments from staff, and there was one outstanding item that was the subject of some additional information provided by Mr. Comment, town engineer, with regard to our sidewalk waiver request. Again, we are proposing sidewalk on one side of the road, of the through road, and one side of the cul-de-sac, which is in accordance with the recommendations from the engineering department. And I believe Mr. Comment provided a memorandum with a little bit more reasoning that he applies to the logic behind his recommendation. So I don't want to characterize his recommendation. I know Mr. Glidden may have had some conversations with him. I have not regarding this matter, but I think we could happy to read his memo into the record, Mike, if that's helpful. Or
Yeah, I apologize. Merrick had a conflict come up tonight, so he was supposed to be here to speak to this memo, but it kind of speaks to itself. I'll read it into the record. It's a memorandum from Merrick Comment, Director of Engineering, dated January 22nd, 2026. Although sidewalks provide many benefits, including enhancing safety, fostering community connections, and promoting health through physical activities, there are also present several challenges that should be noted. One, physical hazards, i.e. cracks, uneven surfaces, heaved panels, overgrown vegetation obstructions, which increase the safety risk and add potential liability to the town. Another one, environmental impacts such as prohibiting rain infiltration into the ground, thus creating increasing impervious areas. This may contribute to higher volumes of stormwater runoff, potential water pollution. Maintenance burdens, i.e. the continual upkeep and costly repairs, which is a concern when developing the town's operating budget yearly, and unfortunately, this is eventually results in a burden to the taxpayer. These considerations should be elevated when incorporating sidewalks as part of a development application, such as, 1, gap connection. Does the proposed sidewalk provide a community connection to an existing pedestrian network? 2, ADA compliance. Can the sidewalk be installed to meet ADA standards for accessible design? 3, layout. Is there a demonstrated need for sidewalks on both sides of the road, or can a neighborhood be adequately served with a single sidewalk for cul-de-sacs? Sidewalks are necessarily given the anticipated low level of traffic. 2, the benefit. Is the proposed sidewalk a direct benefit to the town, such as accessibility to school, park, or other town property? So the reason why Merrick came to this conclusion of saying he recommended the waiver is 1, it's a through street with a cul-de-sac. You're not connecting this neighborhood to anything else. It would be 2 sidewalks that just basically serve the lots that are associated with the proposed road. So that's why he suggested having only 1 and requesting a waiver to the applicant for the installation of sidewalks on both sides of the proposed road.
Is this going to be his recommendation going forward on other applications?
This is.
Kind of wish he was here tonight to
Yeah.
explain more.
This is kind of what, when we get an application for a subdivision and there's sidewalks or there's a waiver request, this is the kind of criteria that he uses to look and see if it's appropriate. An example being if compare it to the subdivision off Marion Road, Blackberry Woods, if the commission recalls, the proposed sidewalks that we granted waivers, those couldn't meet ADA.
There was a reason, yeah.
Correct.
Is there a reason in this development?
There's no connectivity. This is just going to be a sidewalk isolated, 2 sidewalks isolated to itself. The 1 sidewalk should provide sufficient service to the neighbors that live within this proposed development. That's why he recommended it. And it's a recommendation, so you're not bound by his recommendation.
What's the possibility of a trade-off that if we did give him the waiver for one side, asking for a sidewalk on, sorry, my voice is awful tonight, I got a cough. Weiss Road, something on Weiss Road, is that something we can ask for legally?
So legally, that's an off-site improvement.
Yeah.
The applicant would have to agree to that. You couldn't,
We
that
can't-
couldn't
I
be
know
a
we
reason
can't
to
put it in
deny.
there, but-
So,
I've had this hypothetical discussion with the applicant, and if we have the sidewalk on the inside of the curve, right, the main road, and then we extended that sidewalk along the east side of Weiss Road, that would be something that we would be agreeable to, or the applicant would be agreeable to, in lieu of sidewalks on both sides in the development. That way, at least you have some semblance of a connectivity between the inside of that, well, do from your perspective, the inside of the curve down Weiss Road to the intersection of Weiss and Academy, and then terminating it there.
I just want to say I wasn't here when we had the meeting a month ago, but I did watch the video, so I feel comfortable speaking and voting. The street across, I think is called Melrose. Do they have sidewalks on both sides?
They do.
So they don't connect anywhere either. So that has sidewalks, and you're asking for a neighborhood right across the street to not have sidewalks, so
We're requesting on one side, again, this was essentially to comply with the request of the town engineer.
Well, I don't know if the town engineer requested this, or the developer requested it, and he's
the town-
answering your request.
the town engineer requested this.
But he requested it because he was asked to,
No.
No,
to judge on this, or why would he say don't put in 2 sidewalks?
If you go back to his memo,
I read the memo.
that, he uses this as judgment, and then he said, why are we doing 2 sidewalks? 1 sidewalk for this proposed should provide sufficient surface for the residents within the development.
But that's
why.
against our zoning regs.
Is against your subdivision regulations, not your zoning regulations. And also, this
Well,
is just,
subdivision.
and I go back to, this is a recommendation. It's not binding for this
Right.
commission. You could say, no, we're
Right.
not going to grant the waiver. Sidewalks have to go in both sides, and then that would entirely meet your regs. This is the only waiver they're requesting. Otherwise, this development
I understand
conforms with
that. I'm
all-
just saying, the way it's being, it sounds like it's the town's idea to only put in 1 sidewalk, and I don't think that's necessarily how the town went into this.
That's how the
They're
town-
agreeing with the developer that we can get away with 1 sidewalk.
I disagree with that characterization after talking to the town engineer. The town engineer suggested this to the applicant.
Okay, and,
A lot of it
could
was
I
the-
ask why they,
long-
I know all of these, but why is it being thought of in the first place?
Well, for one, he's been dealing with, we have areas in town that have isolated sidewalks that go to nowhere, that don't connect. So we've been looking at that. And then we've also had in some of these areas where homeowners say, I don't want a sidewalk in front of my house anymore. Whether
It's a lot of work.
they don't want to maintain it, or more importantly, we don't want the liability. Because once that goes in, we assume the liability. So if in 10 years you have a frost heave and it's now no longer a even surface, we're now inheriting a liability. So that's kind of where Merrick's thought process was. What he said about the connectivity, let's say this was close to a school and would connect into existing network that provided access to the school, then there's a community benefit, yes, that should be there. You don't meet any of those kind of requirements on this request. That's why he suggested the waiver for 1 side.
Mr. Affy?
Mike, I don't know if you can answer this, but the side that doesn't have sidewalks, if they're school-age kids, can they go to the other side and walk to a central bus stop, or?
Yeah, well, for starters, this is a through street, so it's not the normal cul-de-sac, at least just except for the spur that comes off where my mouse is right here.
Yeah,
So, the Board of Ed usually says cul-de-sacs, they don't drive down. But this is
Yeah.
a through street. They may go drive down. There may be a stop mid-block, sort of within the development. So, I mean, and you're talking about a low-traffic development. You're only having, what, 20? How
There'll
many
be
houses?
19 houses that are on this road network.
Yeah, so you're not, this isn't a dense development where you're gonna have significant traffic. It's so for a school-aged kid to cross this road, it's not like we're comparing it to Marion Road or a busier road.
that's fine. I only asked because at a BOE meeting, the transportation director said that, they do house-by-house stops on things with no sidewalks, but this would not be that, I don't think.
I can't speak for them, but
Okay.
the one thing I can speak for is the fact it's a through street, so therefore they would drive down the through street. They won't drive down a cul-de-sac.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McKinney?
Yeah, Mike, you said that you don't need them on both sides because there's no future, you're not connecting to anything. Can you tell me there's no property, and I'm thinking of an apple orchard not that far away, that would possibly connect in any way to this area, therefore sidewalks being an advantageous thing?
You don't really have an existing network in the area, and you don't have plans to expand that network that would come to this community. The only thing you have in the adjacent area is Melrose to the west of this development, which that just terminates on Weiss Road and 68. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's not, like I said, if this was in an area where it was, let's say we had a perfect world, there were sidewalks up and down Weiss Road, and you were tying into a network that went someplace, then the town engineer would look at that waiver, he would say, this is connecting into an existing network, it's not isolated, therefore it makes sense to have it on both sides. Because you're just on your own island here, it doesn't make sense to connect in because you don't have anything you're connecting to. So,
If I may, based on engineers think, why put sidewalks anywhere in the future? That's an absurd example, but that's how I'm looking at it.
Anybody else from the commission? Anybody from the public?
I know you're going to go right away. Did you go on record saying that if we did give you the waiver to sidewalk on one side, that you would do Weiss Road? Is that what I heard?
Yes, so what would make the most sense under that circumstance is if we had sidewalk on the, right now, we're showing on the outside of the curve. If we were to propose it on one side and connect to Weiss Road, I would argue that it would be more appropriate to have the sidewalk on the inside of the curve than extending it down Weiss Road. That seems to make more sense than if you have the sidewalk on the outside of the road. Now you'd have to cross the intersection at Weiss Road.
You're going to have to cross anyways. You got people who live on the other side of the street. You're going to have to cross to get to the
Oh,
sidewalk. So,
right,
I mean,
right. What, if I may, can I? So if we had a sidewalk down Weiss Road here, it just seems that from a connectivity perspective, that the sidewalk would want to stay on the inside of the curve. That's all I'm saying. Just that way the sidewalk could be somewhat continuous. But that's just.
Does it go by his Merrick's recommendation, or is it, where does Merrick want to see it? If we even approve the waiver.
If you were to
I'm getting
approve
ahead
the
of myself.
waiver, Merrick is comfortable with the interior of the curb and the Weiss Road, as you've kind of discussed. But once again, I mean, it's up to the commission. You could say, no, I don't want to see the waiver here. And then they would have to follow the subdivision regulations and do both sides of the proposed road. And no Weiss. That's the other thing. You're getting a benefit, you are getting a benefit on connecting onto Weiss.
You see us as getting a benefit. I see the contractor getting a benefit because the length of sidewalk on Weiss is much shorter than the curved length. I would like to see the sidewalk on Weiss and Academy.
You can't ask for the sidewalk on Weiss, they're offering voluntarily, those are considered off-site improvements. Under the Buttermilk case, you cannot ask for sidewalks on existing roads. There's a Supreme Court case that is clear with that in Connecticut. Years ago, you could get that. You could have that in your subdivision regulations. You cannot anymore unless the applicant were to agree to it. They're agreeing to Weiss Road, interior to the curve only.
Is the applicant agreeing to Academy as well, or no?
No.
Okay.
Anybody further from the commission? From the public? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sean Henry, 1375 Half Moon Road in Cheshire. I'm just puzzled by the arguments from the engineer. I think the idea that the answer to a disconnected sidewalk is to make no sidewalks at all is absurd. And the answer is instead to connect disconnected sidewalks. We need sidewalks for safety, for just better quality of life in Cheshire. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else? With that, I'll declare the, I'll declare the matter closed. Sorry?
You got to approach the mic, state your name and address.
My name is Dr. Alana Sadich. I'm at 390 Cedar Lane in Cheshire. I just wanted to point out McNamara Park is on Weiss. So there's a lot of kids walking on that road that would benefit from sidewalk on that road, just for access to the park. Also, lots of bus stops as well, that a sidewalk would give them some extra space, that's not like as close to the road, and would help them walk the stops if they wanted to with their friends, or, there's a lot of kids on that road. Like I said, getting picked up from school, but also accessing the park for the Little League fields, the playground, the basketball court, those kinds of things. So just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Anybody else? New business? The application for a special permit on behalf of Doug Evans, Executive Director of Cheshire Community YMCA. Applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to Section 30 of the zoning regs for gym and fitness center located at 435 North Brooksville Road, Assessors Map 177, Lot 2, in an R20 zone. I think he was getting, yeah. I just read the call. That's the call.
Call, he
It
has
is.
also over there.
You read the call, the chairman read the call, he's good.
That was the call?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I thought I did,
He's efficient.
I didn't know you had it sitting right
yeah.
Doug Levin, 72 Chipman Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut. David Arai, Architect of Record, Mayor Design Group, Hartford. So what we're looking to do right now is to just get a change of use on the property at 435 North Brooksville Road, which we purchased last April. Right now, it is zoned A2 assembly for religious purposes, and we just want to be able to, until we do renovations on the property, to be able to do some fitness type programming in that one space.
What type of program, what kind of programs would you be running?
It could be like a youth sports program inside. It could be indoor pickleball. It could be a yoga class.
Just for the commission, so because it was a place of worship previously, this is a change of use. That's the only reason why they're in front of you. And honestly, it's the gym that triggers the change of use. Otherwise, if they were using the office space, if they were operating just the school, they wouldn't be before you. It would not be considered a change of use. It's the gym that triggers, because that's not what obviously is occurring on the property. From a zoning standpoint, it's specially permitted in the zoning district. The site has sufficient parking. There are no exterior improvements that were being proposed at this phase. So it meets your regs entirely.
So this is just merely an administrative requirement?
Well, I mean, from an administrative perspective, I mean, it's still a specially permitted use, so it has to go through the public hearing process, but for all intents and purposes, it meets all of your applicable regs.
Anybody from the commission have any questions?
No plans? We don't have to see plans, or would that be coming in the future for the gym? Or are we just approving?
This is just for utilizing the facility as it is right now, and we'll be coming back in front of you when we do have plans for an expansion.
There's like a phase one and phase two. Phase one, they're gonna get in the building, they wanna be able to do the exercise or
Which is
gym.
already there. Everything, it's already there. Just because it was under a church before, now they need to come in
Yeah.
to have it under the
And
light.
like I said, phase two, down the road, they'll be coming with an expansion. Correct? Doug?
Yes, correct.
Raising money?
Anything else? That will close the matter? I'm sorry, remember the public want to speak? With that, we'll close the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the stipulated judgment for the West Main Street appeal. Attorney D'Onofrio is at another meeting, and he's driving here. So I asked to go out of order and do the plan of conservation development before, so that we give Attorney D'Onofrio time to get here.
Without objection?
And I'll just eat some time. With me is Robin Newton and Janelle Clark. Janelle Clark from Tyke. We've been working on this for the better part of the past year, and almost 2 years now. Robin's reminding me. We've had a lot of public meetings, public outreach. We have their draft document, which has been posted in accordance with state statute. The referrals have been completed in accordance with state statute, and Robin's going to give us kind of a run-through on the plan, really high level for the commission. I know a lot of you, you've been at all of our meetings, so it's just taking time.
It's thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, commission members, members of the public. For the record, my name is Robin Newton. I'm from Tyke Planning and Policy Group, and with me tonight is Janelle Clark. We're two of the three planners that worked on the draft plan of conservation and development, which most of you know because you've been part of this process. While this is, I guess, working its way through, for the public, what is a plan of conservation and development? It's basically a statutory document that's required to be done by every town in the state of Connecticut every 10 years. It helps to basically say what you want to conserve, what you want to develop, and there are other things that are required to be in the plan, such as climate change, resiliency, stuff like that. That's mandatory through the Connecticut General Statutes. This is only an advisory document. It's implemented by the Planning and Zoning Commission. It covers all types of issues, and it basically is a guide for how you want to see your town developed over the next 10 years. For some reason, my computer doesn't want to. My computer's frozen. I am completely frozen. Janelle, do you want to bring it up? Does it not like your thing? Oh, I don't think it likes your sharing thing. So when was the plan last updated? Your plan was updated in 2016, which is why we're trying to get it done by July of 2026. Failure to update the plan disqualifies the town for discretionary funding through the state of Connecticut, so grant funding that you might get. Part of this process involved obviously joint meetings with the Planning and Zoning Commission and other boards and commission. Specifically, we held multiple meetings with stakeholder groups, which included Economic Development, Town Council, Historic Commission, Beautification Committee, Conservation Commission, Inland Wetlands Commission, and Parks and Rec Commission. Each board and commission provided valuable feedback, which helped build out the policies and goals that are found in the draft. On top of that, Tyke did attend the Fall Festival in 2024 to kick off the community outreach. There was an online community survey, which 384 people actually completed, which is a really good number. We also hosted a dedicated website, which included mini surveys that we would rotate out every couple of months. The website was visited regularly throughout the process. You had almost 2,000 visits over the course of it being up, and over 1,300 visitors, which is actually pretty significant. You had over 100 contributions to the online mini surveys, and you had 475 downloads of the draft sections of the POCD. So those are all very significant, definitely a lot of public participation and input as far as what was put up on the website and those meetings with the boards and commissions. I think you're...
So, is this the next slide? Yeah. Overall, there were 4 vision statements, which I'll quickly outline. So we did a lot of workshopping and wordsmithing with the commission, and these are the, this is the verbiage that we settled on. So we envision a Cheshire with a strong quality of life and sense of place. We envision a Cheshire that has a diverse and resilient development pattern. We envision a Cheshire that is environmentally sensitive. We envision a Cheshire that is connected and accessible. And so within these vision statements, the quality of life covers, types of development patterns, adequate housing for a variety of income and family types, the continuing to foster the development of new businesses and economic development, and then ensuring that the conservation and natural resource priorities are also outlined in the plan, as well as providing for alternatives to automobile traffic. There was lots of conversation about traffic in town and the current study that they have going on, and so on and so forth. So the goals for strengthening the quality of life include continuing to provide excellent public safety. That's something that Cheshire is known for, so we really wanted to outline that in the plan. Continuing to preserve the scenic and historic beauty that's cherished by the residents and visitors alike. Supporting and encouraging the high quality of education of Cheshire students through well-maintained and updated school facilities. And we included some figures from the school study that was done. The management and maintenance of parks and public lands for continued enjoyment of Cheshire's residents in order to mitigate the impacts of invasive species and climate change, and monitoring the illegal use of open spaces by ATVs and other motorized vehicles, and reviewing options to prevent these, and then lastly, fostering and encouraging new arts and entertainment options within Cheshire. Some more quality of life goals included monitoring town facilities and ensuring that departments have enough space to support the town and its programming, monitoring volunteer needs, including considering incentives and so on and so forth to attract more volunteers, supporting the ongoing maintenance of townwide fire hydrants, maintaining existing police and fire facilities, and ensuring capital improvement plan includes adequate replacement of vehicles and equipment, investigating the need for public safety complex in the north end of town, develop maintenance plans for large open space parcels which consider drainage and flooding, invasive species, tree health, and public access, so tying in sustainability goals, reviewing zoning regulations and pursuing changes which require or strongly encourage bike and pedestrian-friendly elements in new developments. And then more of the quality of life goals include working to revitalize Mixville Park using the recent expansion of Partland Park as a model, reviewing opportunities for the development of additional playing fields, adopting design standards targeted at commercial and historical areas in town to ensure new and reconstruction is aesthetically cohesive with its surroundings. So the POCD is a great opportunity to put in any suggestions of reviewing regulations, which is how regulatory changes come about, and then new developments or what the town would like to see comes into play later on down the line. Working with the town beautification committee to ensure that developers are adhering to the list of approved plantings, reviewing proposed landscaping plans to ensure that they follow, they're followed before issuing final approvals, consider an expansion of the Cornwall Avenue Town Center Historic District, adopt a demolition delay ordinance using the model ordinance prepared by Preservation Connecticut, leverage funds available for the preservation through the Certified Local Government Program, review the zoning regulations to ensure that arts and entertainment venues are allowed, that are of the residents' interests, and reviewing the potential for adaptive reuse of the Chapman School for town facilities.
The next section was goals for a diverse and resilient development pattern. Continue to foster the creation of affordable housing with a particular focus on housing for young families and the older population. Continue to support the creation of diverse housing types, including apartments, duplexes, and senior housing. Increase the amount of open space to be preserved through encouraging cluster development over standard subdivisions. Prioritizing infrastructure to promote economic growth. Expanding CT transit to major employment areas, and encouraging additional economic growth opportunities, particularly near the interstate highway interchanges. So there was actually a significant number of actions for the diverse and resilient development pattern. It's one of your biggest chapters as far as policies and goals. Investigate the potential to remove housing as an allowed use from C1, C2, and C3 zones. Strengthen Section 44A of the zoning regulations to consider other approaches to encourage development of affordable housing. in lieu of 8-30G applications. Review Chapter 44A with consideration of adding design standards. Review the special design district to consider removing housing as an allowed use. Review the ADU regulation with consideration for flexibility and occupancy and ownership. Review the cluster subdivision regulations for potential changes to encourage or require its use to preserve additional open space, and consider possible density bonuses and changes to the way the total number of lots are calculated. Consider allowing cluster developments in areas without water and sewer as determined by site conditions. Review section 5.5 of the subdivision regulations relating to rear lots and consider changes to allow more flexibility. Consider expanding and supplementing a business incentive program for both new and existing businesses in town. Evaluate infrastructure improvements that can support business development and prioritize town resources. Work with internet service providers to continue to improve access to high-speed and broadband internet. Explore adopting new TIF district areas, West Main Street Business District, South End Commercial District, and what infrastructure needs might exist within each unique area. Investigate and collaborate with EDC to amend existing regulations to promote quality commercial industrial development or redevelopment, resulting in a net positive grand list growth. Continue to work with Connecticut Transit to increase bus service to major employment areas. Study specific geographical focus areas of the community to encourage appropriately scaled and complementary developed. For example, Town Center, West Main Street Center, North End Industrial Corridor, South End Commercial District. Evaluate the need for regulatory changes to accomplish specific placemaking goals. Encourage the expansion of the sewer service areas identified by WPCA as being in the sewer shed. Encourage Regional Water Authority to extend service where applicable. Encourage the expansion of Eversource gas services where feasible. Investigate coverage gaps and determine practical locations for infrastructure improvements to cellular service. Review the IC zone and consider potential changes or elimination to encourage further development. Review the potential for adaptive reuse of the current Darcy School for housing. Environmentally sensitive goals, also a significant chapter in the POCD. Maintain existing open space areas to better protect them from future developments. Increase ADA accessibility and maintenance for all town-owned open spaces. Update and enforce local zoning regulations to better protect wetlands, forest, and open spaces. Expand the town's open space network. Enhance wetland restoration efforts in town. Increase public awareness of and engagement with conservation efforts and activities. Promote sustainable agricultural practices. Develop a comprehensive climate adaptation plan. Secure sustainable funding sources for the ongoing maintenance, management, and expansion of conservation efforts in town. Utilize open spaces to share and increase public knowledge of town industrial and geological history. Review and revise zoning regulations related to the recreational activities on town-owned open spaces to increase community engagement with natural resources in town.
So continuing on with environmentally sensitive actions, update existing maintenance plans for all town-owned open spaces to include trail clearing, regular signage inspections, and infrastructure improvements. Implement a system for regular reviews of maintenance plans to ensure they remain effective and responsive to changing conditions. Secure consistent funding to sustain and support these plans through grants, budget allocations, or a permitting system. Promote and establish a more accessible kayak trail on the Quinnipiac River and provide guided tours to promote water recreation activities. Develop parking areas and sidewalks that strengthen access to and encourage the use of open spaces in town. Consider a citation ordinance for wetland violations. Earmark funding for the acquisition and preservation of additional parcels of open space land, prioritizing existing contiguous open space parcels in order to increase habitats for wildlife. Require clear public access that's ADA accessible where feasible to newly acquired open spaces and existing. Include standards about contiguity and access in development plans or conditions of approvals for large developments that include open space. And continuing on with environmentally sensitive actions, review and update cluster housing regulations and open space requirements in subdivision zoning regulations. Consider limiting access to open spaces with sensitive habitat and wildlife. Develop and implement comprehensive wetland restoration projects aimed at improving water quality, increasing biodiversity, and enhancing flood resilience. Launch community-driven programs that educate residents about the importance of conservation to promote hands-on conservation activities. This includes collaborating with the local school system, scout groups, and conservation-oriented groups such as the Cheshire Land Trust and the Cheshire Pollinator Pathway. Revise the 1995 Trails Guide with a more accessible digital companion on the CheshireCT.org website. Create an accessible outreach document and workshops to increase public knowledge of inland wetland regulations. Create and distribute a newsletter with information about the Inland Wetlands Commission. Create and distribute a welcome pamphlet to the Inland Wetlands Commission. Increase training opportunities for inland wetland commissioners. Establish public-private partnerships and look for grant opportunities to secure sustainable funding sources for the ongoing maintenance, management, and expansion of conservation efforts in open spaces. Implement signage, educational programs, and improved access to open spaces to increase the public's interest in preserving and protecting the history of the town's earliest settlers and geologic and industrial legacy. Review and revise current restrictions on recreational activities in town-owned open spaces to balance conservation priorities. This includes encouraging the implementation of regulations that increase community engagement activities while preserving natural resources. For example, expanded designated areas for bird watching, hiking, and educational programs that promote responsible use. And consider replacing restrictions on activities such as camping, metal detecting, and other recreational uses with a paid permitting system. Consider charging a fee for the use of town-owned land, which would be used for the maintenance of the property. Next, we have the connected and accessible goals, so these are more transportation focused. Reduce congestion throughout town with a focus on Route 10. Increase connectivity to the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail wherever feasible. Improve pedestrian connectivity throughout town, particularly in commercial areas and along Route 10. Develop traffic calming measures to reduce speeds on residential streets throughout town. Coordinate road construction projects among all utility providers and others. This includes water, sewer, gas, drainage, and paving, in order to ensure as few disruptions to the road network as possible. Upgrade and maintain drainage infrastructure to mitigate the effects of larger and more frequent rain events, particularly in low-lying areas or areas of stream crossings. Consider purchasing additional easements adjacent to roadways for the purpose of stormwater management. Lobby the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments and the Connecticut Department of Transportation to conduct a holistic corridor study of Route 10 from the I-691 interchange south to the Hampton Town Line. Work with CTDOT to install dedicated right and left turn lanes, increase the shoulder width to allow for bypass traffic, and improve the sight lines wherever possible along Route 10. Encourage DOT to assign a liaison to the town in order to coordinate efforts to improve traffic throughout town. Seek coordination of traffic light timing along Route 10 to allow motorists to stop as few times as possible. Seek grant funding to continue to build out the sidewalk infrastructure, particularly along Route 10 and throughout business areas in town. And update zoning regulations to require the installation of sidewalks for any new development. Okay, and to finish off with the transportation goals, connect the high school with the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail with the pedestrian bridge over the canal. This should include an improved pedestrian facility across Route 10 in order to provide a safe connection from the trail to Bartlam Park. Make improvements to the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, including wayfinding, signage, mile markers, and additional connectivity where appropriate. Work with adjacent landowners to create additional parking spaces at trailheads wherever possible. This can include easements, shared parking arrangements, or land purchases. Develop and install coordinated signage to assist in finding parking throughout the downtown area to encourage visitors to park once and walk. Work with the local traffic authority to develop methods to reduce speeding across town, including increased enforcement and traffic calming measures. And finally, fund future traffic studies as recommended by the ongoing multimodal transportation study.
Okay. That is the end of the slideshow. For everyone who was listening, in case it wasn't clear, those are the goals and policies that are found in each chapter section. We didn't go through, obviously, almost 100 pages of the POCD for time purposes, but it has been available for everyone to look at. There's also an implementation table at the end, which spells out most of the goals and policies and who's responsible for doing that. And so I guess if there's any questions, we'll take any questions. I know most of you up there obviously sat through all of this, so.
What's the next step?
You guys voting to adopt the plan of conservation and development.
I think tonight is more for the public. The public wants to come in and you know, we've been doing this for a long time, so.
Yeah.
You know, like, if we had questions, of course we could ask, but I think it's more tonight for the public, so.
Any further questions from the commission? From the public?
Hello, Dan Knutson at 48 Mount Sanford Road. I'm here on behalf of the Cheshire Energy Commission. Let me begin by saying a big thank you to the committee for the many hours put in to develop this plan. I am here representing the Energy Commission. It is our view that the plan of conservation and development would not be properly planning for the future if it does not address one of the biggest challenges facing the town, and that is energy policy. The Cheshire Energy Commission would like the town, or would like to collaborate with this committee to develop a comprehensive energy plan for the town for this plan of conservation and development. We asked to meet with the committee as well as attended a meeting, but our input was rebuffed. We were told to present our suggestions at the public hearing. I will highlight 9 suggestions that I would like to see in the plan, and I will provide links to other towns' POCDs to demonstrate the importance of including energy policies in any plan for the future. Number 1, within requests for qualifications and proposals, low energy use index should feature prominently as part of the specifications for all new town building projects and renovations. EUI is the energy used by a building divided by the square footage. Achieving low EUI ratings is essential to constructing a net zero or LEED zero energy building. Number 2, net energy feasibility should be discussed during initial planning of new town projects. Number 3, to ensure the wise expenditure of town monies and future tax revenues, a life cycle cost analysis for all projects should be done during the planning stage. The time span of the analysis should be long enough to include the expected useful life of the equipment and structures, and the lowest life cycle cost should outweigh lowest first cost in importance when making decisions. Number 4, research of possible energy rebates and tax credits should occur during the planning period and should be incorporated in the life cycle cost analysis. Number 5, the town should consider microgrids that incorporate some town buildings to fortify the town's resilience in case of power outages. And number 6, we should update the lighting requirements in the building zone and regulations to minimize light pollution on the overall environment from glare, spillover light, and sky glow, whether from residential or commercial sources, street lights, or athletic field lighting. New town lighting should be dark skies compliant, and older town lighting should be updated within 10 years. These policies will both save the town energy, money, and protect migrating birds. Number 7, we should empower local energy producers and buyers of renewable electricity, promote sources like geothermal, heating, cooling, and solar. Number 8, achieve and maintain the highest ranking by Sustainable CT. This will ensure that the town is fulfilling its obligations to the next generation. And number 9, work with ChargeSmart to ensure the town's public infrastructure and permitting process is suited for the coming proliferation of electric vehicles. Review building codes to make sure what is built today is not outdated in 10 years when the need for chargers is ubiquitous. The one mention I heard of energy in the current version of the plan is that Eversource gas lines should be expanded. This is in direct conflict with your climate adaptation goal. If we want to address climate change, we should not be expanding fossil fuel lines. I think I'm out of time, but if you want, I could mention some of the other POCDs of other towns and what they have.
Yeah, do you have written testimony as well, or copies of that?
I emailed it today to both,
That's okay.
but the Energy Commission would be happy to work with your committee on this if you'd like to collaborate.
It's my understanding that the gas lines up at the new condos was not extended because the efficiency of the heat pumps today are much greater. So the expansion of gas in town is really for commercial and industrial use, not so much residential, because your residential today, with the efficiency of the heat pumps, is greater, as good or greater than gas would be, and certainly much better than oil would be.
Yeah, that should be carefully worded in the plan. It seems like it's a general goal just to expand gas lines.
Not a general goal. This isn't the Bible. All this is suggestions, and people today aren't going to do something or extend something that's going to cost them more in the future. So your best management practices that are in place will take care of the expansion of gas lines. Thank you.
Any other questions or?
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Just real quick. Mike, can you send us an email tomorrow so we can click the links? This memo? Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Laura Monte, 1181 Sperry Road. I don't know if you've received the letter that we sent yet. We
It's
tried
in
to
here.
send it, we did not have everyone's email, but we will make sure you get it.
Speaking to the speaker,
Oh, I'm sorry,
thank you.
You can put-
sorry. Did the commission receive the letter that we sent?
Yeah.
Yeah, the staff provided not emails to Commission Director.
We did not,
Yep.
we did, we, okay, you did, okay, great, thank you.
Environment Commission.
Okay, well, the Environment Commission tried to email you, and I'm glad that you've got it. The letter that we sent states that the Environment Commission does not support the draft BOCD because we were not included in the conservation component. Conserving the town's natural resources is what we are supposed to do. We are frustrated and deeply disappointed that we did not get the opportunity to participate, except for one very small opportunity. In August of 2024, we were sent a 3-question questionnaire and given a few days to return it. We thought that was the beginning of our involvement, and turned out that was the beginning and the end of our involvement. We scrambled to get the answers to those 3 questions, and then we were invited to a meeting in the end of August, which also included Parks and Recreation and inland wetlands. By the time we were given a chance to talk, there'd already been an hour and a half or so of time spent on the other 2 commissions, and we got approximately 5 minutes. So after that, we attempted multiple times to request additional opportunities because we felt that this was our chance, this was important, this is our duty as the Environment Commission, but we were never given that opportunity. So I have two questions. First one is, can someone explain why we were not involved in this development? I'm not pointing fingers. I know we have new members. It's a mystery to us.
Laura, the POCD is the statutory requirement of this
Oh,
commission.
I understand that.
And that is a false statement, what you're saying. The Environment Commission was treated just like the other boards that we met with. You had an opportunity. We had a 6-page memo that was incorporated. A lot of what was in your memo, it was incorporated into this plan.
Why-
At the direction, excuse me, I'm going to finish. At the direction of the commission. This is this commission's role. So
Why were we not given, after multiple, we attempted to get another opportunity multiple times, and we were never given an opportunity. We had that one chance. We were never told that that was our one and only time that we would be able to participate. We didn't know that this one-page questionnaire and that one meeting for 5 minutes was our only chance to participate.
Can I take a part of that question? I don't know if you were at that meeting, but
I was at that
I was
meeting.
at that meeting too. And I remember personal attacks to the members of this commission. And it was uncalled for, and we shut the meeting down. It had nothing to do with not wanting to hear your concerns. We just did not want to hear the personal attacks from one of your members.
We reached out. That was an unfortunate,
It was very unfortunate.
yes, it was
Because we had a
unfortunate.
great night going that far. You said how it was an hour and a half. We met with 2 other commissions. We were prepared to go as long as you wanted to go. But I was not going to sit there and listen to personal attacks to members of this commission.
Well, I was there. I know, I'm not forgiving that kind of behavior. It takes two to tango. It was 2 people got into an argument, and it's unfortunate, and it was embarrassing for, I think, everybody. However, after that, after it was shut down, and for good reason it was shut down, we reached out to try to come back and say, we want to sit down with you and try to finish this, and we were never allowed that.
I can't speak for that.
So-
I know you sent in your requests. I think we took your requests.
Yes, we sent in, I think, 5 requests.
I don't remember. It might have been 5, might have been more. I don't remember. But as far as another meeting, I didn't think you asked for another meeting.
We did.
Okay. Like I said,
maybe I could assist with
you
this.
can, yeah.
We were on a time crunch going through preparing this plan. So therefore, we took the input, we incorporated it, we had to get into drafting the plan. So, because it's a responsibility of this board to do this. And if we were to miss this deadline, it puts the town in jeopardy for
This was
eligibility
in-
for discretionary, I'm still talking. It pushes the town in jeopardy of discretionary funding. So we did not go repeat with everyone. We had listening sessions individually. So.
This was in August of 2024. There was plenty of time to meet again. We requested it. We asked politely. We just wanted to have input into a plan that we feel so strongly about. We care deeply about the environment, and all we wanted to do was make the best possible plan of conservation and development, and we just were not given the chance. So what we're saying here tonight is it's an unfortunate situation that we are in now. We are willing to work with whomever. I know the time is running out. However, there's still time to try to bring in some of the concerns and ideas and vision of the Environment Commission, which was never got to this point have not been included. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm
in
sorry.
defense, I have the floor now.
No, I just said I'm sorry because I started walking away.
In defense of this commission, This is the first time in the history of the Plan of Conservation and Development in the town of Cheshire that the people of the commission wanted to hear from absolutely every committee that the town had so that we could adopt their concerns. And we did that. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be, I'm getting older now. You were the first to speak. Are you the president or chairman?
I'm the vice chair.
Yeah, okay. And you had a paper that you read to us with a list of different concerns that you had and you wanted brought forth. And if I'm not mistaken, we have adopted most of those. Now, you wanted to come back. No other Park and Rec, no one else came back in front of us. And for the first time ever, we had invited everyone so that we could get their concerns. But we can't continue to discuss with every commission. We wouldn't get this done by the statutory deadline. We addressed the concerns that you had as chairman of the committee, and we adopted most of them. So you may certainly speak, but you seem to be coming up here and speaking as the commission or committee, when in fact, we're here to hear public input. Thank you.
We were told that the only time we'd get another chance was to come to the public session. That was told to us in January of 2025, an entire year ago. And also, I think it would have been very helpful if, once we had that questionnaire with the 3 questions, it would have been very helpful to us if we had been told, this is it, this is your only opportunity, this is all you're going to get in order to put your thoughts and your visions and your concerns about the environment. This is it. So you make it, even though we were given a few days, we were given it on Monday and told it had to be returned on Friday, and that was our only chance to participate in something that goes on for 10 years and involves the environment that people in Cheshire care deeply about, as we do as well. And the fact that the referendums passed for additional acquisition of open space shows how strongly people feel. The North End development, where people came out in droves, shows how strongly people feel. And for us to be given a couple of days and a 3-question questionnaire as our chance to protect the environment seems inadequate.
This is another opportunity that you could have come with us with your concerns, and you're just coming to us telling us how wrong we were in the way we handled your situation. But bring your concerns in. This is what this forum is for.
We tried. We tried multiple times. The dates are in the letter, the times that we reached out, and we received crickets.
I'm just saying, this is your opportunity to bring stuff forward. Another opportunity.
Well, that's
You're
why
not
we're
bringing it
here. That is why we're here, and we would like to, we're not giving up. We're hoping that between now and when the POCD is finalized, that we will be able to participate and include more of our thoughts and concerns and visions.
Let's hear them.
Oh, okay, you're about to hear them right now.
I'm Karen Schnitzer. I'm at 18 Currier Place. I'm also with the Environment Commission. Regarding this plan of conservation and development, I was also disappointed that we didn't have any opportunities to discuss our ideas, but we'll just move along here and I will give you some of our concerns and ideas. In our conservation section, there's very little discussion of our major open space properties and what makes them special and how we're going to manage them. We have a number of these open space properties here in Cheshire. Each of these properties is unique and important in their own way. It would be appropriate to have a paragraph or 2 about each, at least in their unique properties. For example, Roaring Brook Falls is part of a 500-acre large core forest. It supports a wide array of wildlife, as well as has a vast array of spring wildflowers, and is home to the tallest single-drop waterfall in Connecticut. It's also home to a large number of invasive plants. Another outstanding property is the Yankee Expressway Highlands in the northwest corner of town. This property is 300 acres and is categorized as a medium core forest in the State Forest Action Plan. Due to its large size and varying terrain, the New England Mountain Bike Association feels that it is perfect for mountain biking, and they would like to install 20 miles of trails across the interior of the property. At the urging of the Environment Commission, the town has taken the proactive step of applying for an environmental review by the Connecticut Environmental Review Team. The resulting report will help the town protect the flora and fauna found there, either by adjusting planned trails or closing them at seasonally appropriate times. This could be in the plan as an example of how we are going to work to protect our open spaces. Each of our major properties should be described in some detail, including some history. It should be noted that the town has or will be having a state forester walk through each of these properties and deliver to the town a detailed report. These reports will inform our updated management plans. This should be in the plan as a roadmap for the future. There has been a lot of development in town recently, and there have been many major changes in land use. The town should have a policy regarding major land use changes. Such a policy would call for an investigation into biodiversity and uncover any hidden cultural or historical treasures that should be protected from development, as well as any soil contamination left by previous land uses or dumping operations. This might be noted in the plan. Other things that could be expanded on would include our intention to enhance wetland restoration efforts by including the intention to support and manage our riparian buffers for the benefits they provide, including improved water quality, biodiversity, habitat connectivity, resources for wildlife, shade for fish habitat, flood control, reduced erosion and secondary inputs, and climate resilience. Further, the town should include adopting culvert design parameters that not only meet flow requirements, but also allow for the passage of fish and other aquatic organisms, which is necessary for a healthy ecosystem. In fact, perhaps ideally, all culverts in town should be evaluated to determine which ones are undersized and impact fish passage. This would help the town be prepared for the increased intensity of rain events in the future. The POCD could elaborate on the town's intention to manage and control invasive plants. This is a very big job, and the town will need to commit to it. There should be metrics such as removing X many invasive calorie pear trees or winged euonymus, or treating X many acres per year. Some parks should be left wild. For example, number 8 in the matrix mentions revitalizing Mixville using the recent expansion of Bartlam Park as a model. Bartlam Park is a perfect place for sports and concerts. The grass is mowed short, the grounds are treated, and overall the park is meticulously well-groomed. Mixville, on the other hand, is still wild enough to be home for wildlife. It is perfect as a day camp and outdoor venue for children to learn about and connect with nature. There is no reason really to change Mixville Park into a mini Bartlam Park. The town does have a preferred planting list for developers, and given the importance of native plants, it would make sense for the town to elaborate on its commitment to support the planting of such whenever possible in the POCD, especially on our open space properties as we remove invasives, but also to encourage our local businesses to embrace natives. Other goals in the POC could include reducing the use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers whenever possible. These chemicals run into streams and rivers, decimating small invertebrates. Fertilizer that runs into streams causes algal blooms, which reduces oxygen in the water and then kills fish and other life in the streams and water bodies. The POCD should include our intention to reduce the amount of light trespass in town and the amount of sky glow in town, possibly with the goal of adopting the Connecticut Lights Out model regulations. It would be appropriate to include support for increasing composting in our town and to facilitate existing composting efforts. This will reduce the amount of waste we have to pay to truck it out of state. Also, we could mention the good ideas generated at the state level, such as the Forest Action Plan and the Wildlife Action Plan. How can we take advantage of these plans to support our conservation goals? I do want to mention that we're at the end. The matrix at the end of the plan is a little disappointing. The Environment Commission has an interest in many of the vision actions listed, I'll say at least a dozen, but is included only 5 times. We may be an advisory commission, but that does not mean we can't contribute. Please take advantage of our knowledge, interest, passion, connections, and credentials. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laura and Karen, thank you for coming tonight. I was at that meeting in that August, and I was not happy with how it turned out, and I did send an email to Mr. Glidden. I just said, no fault, but, you should be able to speak a little bit more. Things happen. I know that some of your stuff was incorporated, but I thank you for coming here tonight.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Schrum, 369 Sir Walter Drive.
David,
One more.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
have just a comment, David, if you don't mind. Then I'll probably
Unless we can
comment on
talk-
something
you
you
want to talk
said.
again, we can
Yeah.
reprise the August meeting. Go ahead.
Roaring Brook Falls, as you mentioned, was the first cluster subdivision in Cheshire. And that property of the falls was privately owned by the Foster family. And by doing a cluster subdivision there at that time, Cheshire ended up with Roaring Brook Falls, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the second largest falls in the state of Connecticut. But I think that should be mentioned. That was done as part of a cluster subdivision.
I don't think I have anything against cluster subdivisions. I live in a condo, and we have 70 acres of open space, so it's okay.
No, I just wanted to make that comment, that's how the falls were initially done. And unfortunately, the properties on either side of it were then acquired, not unfortunately, but it's really interesting to see how some of the people that were involved in the negotiations for those properties and employees of the town of Cheshire ended up with lots up there. But that's for another discussion.
Oh, you're right. Well, and Roaring Brook was also acquired through 5 years of lobbying and very hard work on the part of the Cheshire Land Trust, who also was able to get a grant from a foundation out of New Haven, which helped pay for that. Initially, the town was not interested, but the members of the board at the Land Trust, I was in high school at the time, well, a little bit older than that.
No, you weren't, David.
But- Well, yeah, I was, Matt. I was young once. But they took members of the Board of Selectmen, it might have been council members back then, they took them on a couple of hikes up Roaring Brook, and they said, this is land that has to be protected. So it was a collateral effort on the part of many members of the community, and that's how we ended it. It did not come about because there was a cluster. That was the beginning of the process.
That is how
but
it came
yeah,
about,
whatever.
David.
All right.
So you're
well,
wrong.
You'll
The
have a
additional
chapter.
property was right, but no, you're wrong.
You'll
David.
have a
Sorry.
chapter in my book, Matt. You'll have a chapter in my book. All right, back to the beginning. Dave Schrum, 369 Sir Walter Drive. I'm speaking as an individual tonight, not as a member of any organization, past or present. The POCD, very interesting document. It's good that it's done every 10 years for communities because it does aggregate a lot of information that probably, frankly, members of the public would not normally see without a document like that. Just a couple of comments about some suggestions. Number 12 in there talks about we should try to do wetlands restoration. Very, very expensive, doesn't work very often. Not suggesting you necessarily take it out, but even the Army Corps of Engineers doesn't do wetland replacements because they figured out over the years it doesn't work very well. I would suggest, there's a lot of comments in there about managing our open space that the town owns. This is an administrative issue, but it might not be a bad idea to give the Park and Rec folks their own maintenance people. Because right now, if they have to maintain something on our open space, they have to go to Public Works. And when Public Works gets ready, they can go out and do it. Relationship is pretty good, but there's still times when the Park and Rec people, which is the way it used to be, our parks were maintained a lot differently because the Park and Rec director had a couple of people working directly for him. So that may not be a bad change. It says review cluster regulations. I don't know if it's state law, but I think right now 50% of the wetlands and things that you can't build on has to be taken out of the calculation. Consider maybe raising that to 75%, easy way to get more open space. I was here a couple of weeks ago, talked about strengthening the HOA requirements. You leave a lot of improvements in a development, the HOA is going to take care of those things. Well, a lot of times HOAs, sometimes they don't get set up, sometimes they go out of business. I think there's one up in the north end of town that's you were a member of, that kind of went out of business. So if you're going to leave things like detention ponds and stormwater runoff issues up to this hypothetical group, you ought to make damn sure that that hypothetical group stays in existence. Not unlike a condo association. By state law, they have to be they have to stay in effect. So you could probably strengthen that. Route 10 traffic, it's been a problem forever, and it will continue to be a problem. The people who complain about it the most are the people who contribute to it, and that's the residents of Cheshire, me included. There are some things you can do to improve town. Right outside that window, there's no left-hand turn lane to go down Wallingford Road, so the traffic gets all backed up. The reason there's no left-hand turn lane is because the state of Connecticut says you don't have enough width. Well, the residents of Cheshire have figured out that there's enough width because people are out here turning left all the time. Maybe you can get the state of Connecticut to put in a left-hand turn lane. Little things like that can work, but Route 10 has been massaged ever since there were horse and buggies. Not a bad idea to keep trying. You have in the plan here, expand sewers. Why? Why expand the sewer shed? There are some reasons to do that, especially in the industrial zone, if you can attract good industrial partners. East Johnson Avenue is a classic example of that. We put sewers in East Johnson Avenue, down McCausland Court. We were able to attract some nice industry up there. But just to do it without a lot of forethought is not a good idea for two reasons. Number one, you put more pressure on the wastewater treatment plant, and number two, it is a gift for developers. You put in sewers, you're going to end up with cluster. Chances are. That's just the way it is. What's a little disappointing in this is when you look down that matrix and you have all the dollar signs, what's going to cost a lot, what's not going to cost a lot. There ought to be a upgrade the wastewater treatment plant with $3 signs or $4 signs. Now, I know people will argue, oh, we got plenty of capacity at our plant. It's a $4 million, it's a 4 million gallon capacity plant. But let me see, February, snow, March, melting. Go down there in March or April when we have the spring floodings. That plant is putting 10, 11, 12 million gallons into the Quinnipiac River. That's not really environmentally sensitive, is it? Now, I know probably every wastewater treatment plant in Connecticut overflows during those events. And you're never going to get a sewer treatment plant that can carry all that overflow. But I think there's something missing in the plan where you don't cite the fact that that's a big nut that's coming down the road. Last time we upgraded, $31 million. And we spent 5 or 6 years on the council putting money aside in a little savings account. So when that $31 million hit, it wasn't as big a hit to the taxpayers of Cheshire. So watch out for sewers. I won't go into sewers anymore. As far as the infrastructure, one more thing. As far as the infrastructure, we've worked our way in, and I guess it is true that you can't make a developer pay for something that's going to occur down the road. And sometimes it's not even down the road. Weiss Road, you had the application here tonight. There's a little culvert bridge under Weiss Road. And developing Norton's Farm is going to put a lot more water into that thing. Is Weiss Road going to wash out? No, hopefully not. But there are places in town where the infrastructure was not improved or wasn't doing properly, and the taxpayers end up picking up the bill. One of the commissioners here has overflow next to his property that shuts down Cheshire Street on occasion. So I don't know how you get around that, but don't ignore that, because that's a downstream expense. And it just, I had a lot of fun reading the POCD. I think this is my fourth one. I'm an old guy like Mr. Bowman, and when you read through it, you see the same themes over and over again. But what's interesting and a little comical is when developers' attorneys get up here and propose a development, they will very often cite the Plan of Conservation and Development as a reason why this project should be approved. Our good friend Anthony, he did it all the time. Just about every time. It was, well, and the POCD says we need this, or the POCD said we do that. It's very prescriptive, okay? I've never heard anybody say you can't, this project, because it's not in the POCD. You heard the opposite. It's in the POCD that we need X, Y, or Z, okay? But I just, we need more recreation, but that doesn't mean you have to put Disneyland on the town green. So, good luck. Keep up the good work. Mr. Bowman.
Oh, David, do I have questions for you?
Yes, sir.
You are the guru of the Sewer Commission, which I also happen to sit on. So would you tell us then the last time the upgrade of the sewer plant, what year that was?
Probably 2015. I think
That was?
the plan said 2015. I think the planning started for it in like 2010.
Okay, and what was that upgrade for?
The upgrade, it was a $3.5 million plant. We didn't have to pay as much as we thought we were going to have to pay because the state came down and said if you tweak this pump or you change that pipe, we will upgrade the plant from 3.5 million gallons to 4 million gallons, and that's where it stands today.
Yes, but what was it for? There was not, that plant at that time was not for the increase of capacity. At that time, the state said that we will increase 400,000 gallons a day for the storage in the pipes.
Right.
Oh, okay, David, you know what?
Yeah,
And
that's
when was
right.
the last time the sewer plant was actually, the plant capacity was increased? Do you know what year that was?
There was a big folderol in 1981 or 82 after the flood of 82. There was a referendum about increasing the plant and putting up the dikes. And the good people of Cheshire voted down the dike at referendum. And people said, why the heck would the people of Cheshire vote down a dike? You know why they voted down a dike? Very clear, Mr. Bowman, because they said, if we put a stranglehold on sewers, then the developers won't be in there paving over every field in Cheshire.
Well,
My
it was-
personal opinion.
you're right, David. It was 40 years ago since the last time this town upgraded the capacity of its plant. But you spoke vehemently against a subdivision that we approved that tried to get tied into sewers that would have given another 40 acres of open space if it was done as a cluster off of Marion Road. And you vehemently went to the meetings, so you kind of speak out of both sides of your mouth. You'd like to see more open space, and so would we. And yet, you don't want, you don't want anyone to
Matt,
tie
you're-
into the
now
sewer.
your age, I never talked about the sewers on Marion Road. Our contention was with you, who sat one seat over, about putting the sewers out here on Wallingford Road. I still got the tapes of that. If you and I can get together for coffee.
Thank you, David.
I'll play you what you said.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Sean Henry, 1375 Half Moon Road in Cheshire. And though I serve on the Environment Commission, I'm here speaking as a resident and not as a representative of that commission. I do want to acknowledge the hard work that's gone into this draft. While I believe it needs some further revision, it is a thoughtful, comprehensive document that reflects a sincere effort to capture what Cheshire values. My main comment tonight is about impact and implementation. The document's stated objective is to serve Cheshire's official action plan for its future land use, development, and conservation goals. It's meant to guide decision-making for a decade. To do that well, it needs a structure that makes progress visible and verifiable over time. Right now, the plan has principles, background goals, and actions. What it needs to make progress real is outcomes, metrics, and a stronger reporting mechanism. In my view, the draft would be substantially stronger if each goal included 3 additional elements. 1, an outcome statement describing what success looks like. 2, a small set of measurable key performance indicators or KPIs with targets. And an implementation approach. Number 3, an implementation approach that makes clear how progress will be tracked and reported year over year. For example, in the Cheshire's environmentally sensitive section, one goal is to expand the town's open space network. I agree with that direction, but as written, it's broad enough that it can mean very different things in practice. Is success more acres, better connectivity, watershed protection, biodiversity, equitable access, or some combination of all of those things? Without defined outcome and measurable indicators, it becomes difficult to show that we're meaningful better off in year 3 than in year 1. And it becomes easier to claim success based on activity rather than impact. With a goal like that stated so broadly, the town can end up making choices that are genuinely positive, but not necessarily aligned with the highest environmental impact, while still claiming the benefit was achieved. For example, we might add acreage that is scenic and valued, but doesn't measurably improve watershed protection, habitat, connectivity, or resilience in priority areas. Or we might add small disconnected parcels that don't build a functional network. A more outcome-oriented measurement goal might be something like, just as an example, not a suggestion, by 2030, improve watershed resilience in priority watersheds such as the Mill River and Quinnipiac by reducing runoff impacts and restoring and protecting riparian corridors while maintaining appropriate public access and ecological integrity. This could be achieved by actions such as acquiring strategically important parcels of open space or by adopting new standards and regulations. KPIs associated with such a goal might be something like the number of acres of protected riparian corridor added within priority watershed areas, the number of identified flood and erosion hotspots addressed through mitigation and restoration actions, the estimated stormwater retention capacity added through projects or standards. Then the actions can focus on the levers that actually drive those outcomes. For example, updating regulations and standards, prioritizing acquisitions based on measurable criteria, and aligning capital planning with watershed goals. This keeps momentum, but gives those implementing flexibility on the exact tactics. Some actions in the draft currently read more like specific tactics, some of which have come from the Environment Commission. For example, revising a particular guide, like the 1995 Trails Guide, or creating a newsletter. Those might be good ideas, but they feel better suited for department-level plans, annual budgets, or committee initiatives than in the 10-year POCD. Given these concerns, I'm respectfully asking that you continue this public hearing and keep the record open and direct that the draft be revised to incorporate outcome statements and a small set of measurable KPIs tied to each major goal, along with a clear approach to annual reporting. Finally, the implementation matrix identifies specific boards, commissions, and departments as responsible parties. If those groups are expected to carry out implementation, the plan will be stronger and more realistic if you formally solicit their input and confirmation of the draft before adoption, including, for example, the Environment Commission. I also encourage you to call for a standing POCD implementation committee made up of representatives of the boards, commissions, and departments identified in the implementation matrix, with the requirement for an annual progress report to both planning and zoning, as well as the town council. That report should summarize progress, list KPI results where applicable, and identify barriers, resource needs, and recommended adjustments. There are many other towns in Connecticut that have similar language in their POCDs, and I'd be happy to forward those examples. Finally, I will just echo some of the comments that have been made by others here. There's many additional suggestions that I, as an individual, would love to contribute through my role on the commission, but we have not had the opportunity to provide that feedback since the initial workshop months ago. I was in the same meeting that was discussed earlier tonight, and while it is regrettable that some actions occurred at the end, it was bi-directional, not just by members of the Environment Commission, but also sitting members here today. And that should not be a reason to eliminate our participation in the process. The document will be stronger if you get past those arguments and welcome the feedback and expertise of those in the Environment Commission. Finally, I'm deeply bothered by some of the disrespect shown to members of the public who spoke here tonight. I don't think they should be interrupted by town staff, and I hope that that does not continue in future public hearings.
We have town staff here to basically help us and give us directions on how to maintain the meeting. Lots of times their expertise is more specific than ours is. But, you know, part of what we have to do is a balancing act, what we're going to do and what we can do when it's feasible. And a good example is tonight, whereas on one hand, you're coming up here and promoting positive environmental policies, and on the other hand, you came earlier and discussed your desire for 2 sidewalks with the concomitant environmental issues with having more impervious surface. Oftentimes, what we have to do is make those balances and do that, and that's just one example.
And I'll just echo, I have enormous respect for Mr. Glidden and his expertise and the expertise of other members of town staff.
He's here to guide us, and it has been, and I'm grateful for his help.
Thank you all.
Hello, my name is Amy Russell. I live at 231 Argyle Road, and I'm speaking in a personal capacity tonight. A couple of years ago, when this whole process started off, I remember attending a meeting, or it was a presentation at the Cheshire Public Library about this POCD, and I was very excited about it at the time. I thought it seemed like, I understand it's a every 10-year event, and I think it's a wonderful way for the town to show what its priorities are and to set an agenda for the time going on. And not having been involved in this process as it's been going on over the past 2 years, I only read the POCD, the draft version, a few days ago. And I was a little disappointed because I was expecting something a little bit more detailed, with a little more in the terms of specifics. And having lived in Cheshire about 24 years now, I've seen kind of the evolution of the town and a lot of changes, many of which have already been echoed by other speakers. But the 2 things that I wanted to comment on, just to draw your attention to, that residents are very concerned about, as I'm sure you know, but are congestion and traffic safety, and also the lack of public transport and non-personal vehicle options to link the different parts of town, particularly in the North End, where we've had so much recent development. And I understand that Cheshire faces a big challenge when it comes to transit planning, because the 2 main arteries in town are state-controlled roads, and I understand the limitations there. And while the POC report acknowledges the serious issues of congestion and limited transit options, there seem to be little in terms of solutions other than some encouragements to work more closely with the state and to recommend more traffic studies. What I was pleased to see was the recommendation of an infrastructure development that could actually make a difference, such as connecting the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail to the high school and to other destinations. But this is pushed out 7 to 10 years, and with the responsibility being all on the Parks and Rec Commission. And I'm wondering, how will the town maintain a focus and put a priority on an issue, on a project such as this, that will require more funding and will require a lot of determination to bring it to fruition? Because I've watched the development of the Farmington Canal Trail, which has been wonderful over the time, but it's been very slow, very painstaking. And I really believe that this connecting the trail to more destinations in town would help a lot. And I'd like to see it before I seriously consider whether I can continue living here as maybe a retired person. And 7 to 10 years, by that time, I will need to make a decision about, can I continue living in Cheshire? Is it really a viable place for an older person who may like to not have to use a car, a personal vehicle, to get to every destination in town, or to rely on something like senior transportation? So that's what I'm thinking of, and I would appreciate just some more specifics and in the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joanna Giddings, 503 Oak Ridge Drive, and I'm here to represent my own views this evening. So thank you for the opportunity to review and comment on the draft of the Plan of Conservation. I appreciate all the work that's been done so far, and I have some feedback. First, I want to thank you for addressing the American with Disabilities Act. I appreciate that ADA compliance is interwoven throughout the document. Also, the plan's very thorough, I think, in attention to man-made structures. There are areas in the document that personally I think need improvement. I'm concerned about the lack of focus on Cheshire's ecosystem. In fact, I searched the document and I did not find the word ecosystem once. This is concerning, and I ask you build out this plan to address our responsibility to ensure a healthy ecosystem for our children and grandchildren. Native plants are the foundation of a healthy ecosystem, but I could find no mention in the Plan of Conservation of the Cheshire Native Plant Resolution, which should be used as a reference for conservation efforts. I ask that you include in the implementation matrix work on enacting a strong native plant policy, something stronger than the resolution, that conserves and encourages restoration of native plants while also being in compliance with planning and zoning regulations. This is important because there's no public interest in planting non-native plants on public land, especially trees which carry a large biomass. The conservation plan should include a review of expansive lawns on town property and develop a plan for enhancing those areas with ecologically appropriate plantings. To be clear, we should maintain open lawn areas for family recreation in our parks. However, I'd like to see more balance in Cheshire. And I'll give you some examples. In Bartlam Park, while the new man-made structures are lovely, a portion of the vast lawn on the southern end of the park could be populated with native shrubs that support pollinators and birds, retain stormwater, and offer visual interest to residents, to bird watchers. Cheshire Park's long strip of lawn along Route 10 could be improved with ecologically appropriate plantings. Mixville. The proposal to model Mixville Park after Bartlam Park is concerning to me. Since the redesigned Bartlam Park is skewed almost entirely towards man-made structures and lawn, it should not be used as a blueprint for Mixville, which is better suited as a site to allow children and families to connect with nature. Please reconsider this. The Farmington Canal Trail. The flooding of the intersection of the trail and Cornwall Avenue is addressed in the implementation matrix, which is great. There's a small parklet at that intersection that features ginkgo biloba trees, a tree that's native to China and prefers dry conditions. Water-loving native trees such as red maple or willow would have been a better choice and should be used to correct this error. A native plant policy would help the town to avoid errors like this in the future. Invasive species. We need a more specific plan to address invasive plant species such as mugwort, Japanese knotweed, Norway maples, which should be aggressively mitigated. These plants both degrade the ecosystem, but they also spread to residents' properties where they can go unnoticed until an expensive removal project presents itself. Cheshire should consider a program to help residents and commercial property owners to identify the most problematic invasive trees on their property, such as Callery pears and Norway maples, and encourage removal. A town tree program could potentially offer replacement native trees as a small incentive. Finally, public education. I appreciate the need to engage residents in conservation as mentioned in the plan. Cheshire should implement an educational program to encourage business owners and residents to protect and plant ecologically appropriate plants that will conserve and restore habitat so that as development inevitably continues, the ecosystem is protected to the highest extent possible. I'd like to see more detail in the Plan of Conservation regarding how we will improve stormwater management and protect riparian buffers. In my conversations with residents about planting native plants, I encounter both a lack of knowledge about challenges like flooding and stormwater management and an interest in learning how to keep water on their properties. The town should encourage the installation of rain gardens and bioswales on residential and commercial property by raising public awareness and increasing education. Thanks so much for the opportunity to comment.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Devlin. I live at 61 Lanyon Drive here in Cheshire. I just have a couple of comments. And the first one is on page 29, there's mention of a splash pad. And I believe that was voted down. There is also on page 29 a mention of Champion as our ambulance service, and that is incorrect. It's Campion, if anything, and it's been succeeded by Trinity Health. Can you folks hear me? Number 2, I'm probably going to make a lot of enemies on this one. And Mr. Bowman, you have suggested that this is a suggestive document. But on page 32 of this proposed plan, it states in a paragraph, in an effort to preserve these historic buildings and properties, the town should consider implementing a demolition delay ordinance. I think that's an incorrect statement. The town, through the Historic District Commission, is aggressively pursuing a demolition delay ordinance. And the way it is written right now, it is my opinion that the suggestive ordinance is illegal. I think it should somehow be put forward to the residents of this town that this ordinance is pending and probably will be passed this year by the town council. It is going to affect my property, and in fact, I went through the properties on my street. I got to the 8th house from Route 10, 4 houses on each side. It's going to affect 4 of those properties out of 8. I don't think anybody has educated the public on how this is going to affect properties in town. I do think, and I'll just finish with this because I know this is not the proper venue to have this discussion, but a town ordinance should not be the source of a title encumbrance. Okay, number 3 is about the pedestrian bridge, and I am so happy that somebody else has already brought that up because I first learned about the possibility of a bridge behind the high school. The Willow Brook is like 5 or 10 feet, depending on whether it's rained, and the kids already use whatever source they have of going from the linear trail to the high school. Why not put a bridge there? I don't like the fact that it's 7 or 8 years out because I've already heard about it for the last 10 years. It should have been done already. It's just going to get more expensive. So I am joyful. It's on 2 pages of this plan. It's on page 74 and page 82. Let's just get it done. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Uh-oh. Mr. Bowman?
I would say that the bridge wasn't done at the high school because the town sewer commission has a pump station there and they were afraid of vandalism, and that's why that wasn't done sooner. Yes, that's, yeah.
Oh, I
And
know, that's what I've heard,
Yeah.
but that's no excuse.
Well, I know it is because I just unfortunately have been here a couple of years. And as far as the demolition ordinance, if, on the plan of conservation and development, I spoke specifically to some of the homes in Cheshire being mentioned, as the Patty Pace house on South Main Street was mentioned in the last conservation and development. Some of these houses should be mentioned as something that we want to preserve. I certainly, I have a hard time hearing, so I couldn't hear, and there's a couple of Bowmans too. Like, there's, I think, 70 of us in Cheshire, but that's all right. So I did speak, and it is an encumbrance on the property. And my biggest concern was that the town or the Historic Society didn't have any vehicle to notify the people that this was going to affect. And the problem is, it was the year that they had selected. If they had selected a year prior to 1900, I think that's very notable. Maybe not so long, a period of 6 months, maybe a shorter period, but certainly there could be a demolition permit situation that way. But there should also be a specific application to do that notification of the people, and if no one comes forward, then that demolition permit should be done. I don't believe in demolishing things. My house on 422 Maple Avenue, like I've said before, was built in the 40s. It would have been cheaper for me to tear it down. I didn't. I redid it.
And it's beautiful.
We saved R.W. Hind at 231 Maple Avenue. That was going. The family bought that. The Waverly Inn, that was going. We bought that. The house on Main Street, which was the old Deacon's house, we purchased that, or members of my family did, and remodeled it. So we certainly would like to see the homes of Cheshire be preserved, and especially on Maple Avenue. Unfortunately, some of the newer ones, the Alice Washburns, we should somehow try to preserve. So, but I think the commission did take a look at that, and specifically say, what homes should we mention that should be maintained and not demolished and used for, and I'm going to use a nasty word of affordable housing, but that's what could happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I was not aware of the October 14, 2025 public hearing on this issue. And that's another complaint for another day. There's not a lot of information and education on what is going on in the town. So that's why I'm bringing it up tonight. I think it needs to be underscored. I think it needs to be on the front page of their website, because it is an encumbrance. It's like a lien. It is like an HOA. It's like the historic district has certain regulations and they're on the land records. This is going to be hidden in the trove of ordinances where we have whether you can have 10 chickens in your backyard. Okay? I have a problem with that. It affects marketability. And to me, the lack of notice and the suggestion that under an ordinance, there might not be demolition allowed, there's nothing in the current proposal that says this will not stop demolition, okay? I think that is illegal, so I just want to bring it out that I have a problem with, first of all, that paragraph being in the POCD, but also the current proposed demolition delay ordinance as it is. I think we need more education about it. That's a wrap. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Alana Sadich. I live at 390 Cedar Lane. And when speaking about information and education, I honestly didn't know anything about this plan at all until I got an email from the Coalition for Sustainability, because I'm on their email list, and it included a link to the draft, and then it included the information about this meeting tonight. So I didn't participate in any of the surveys or discussions, and I don't know how many other people like me live here and didn't know or wondering where. I told you my address, so I don't live under a rock. You know where I live. And I don't know how that happened. So when I read the draft, the first section is about quality of life. But to me as a resident, my number one quality of life issue is traffic on Route 10. And it was not included in that section. The traffic concerns were included in the accessibility and the connectivity later on. But I do think it's a very big quality of life issue. With that in mind, as I'm reading through the plan, I can see that we are encouraging a lot of development. Development for residences and development for industry and commercial use. And if more people live here, then those people have to drive here. And then if more people come here to work and to shop here, then they also have to drive here. And then how will anybody drive here? I really don't know, because we have one main road that gets through the whole town. And that one main road from 6 a.m. till 11 a.m., and then it picks up again at, 1 o'clock? It's just traffic, just straight traffic. When somebody else was talking about staying and living in Cheshire, I have a sister, and I wanted her to live close to me, and I asked her if she would move here, and she said, no way, because the amount of traffic that you have here. So that's just a side note. But some of the other things that I had questions about were the population estimates. I have 2 kids in elementary school at Highland, and I went to, which I did hear a lot about through, I guess, the school network, the elementary schools needing to be redone. And I went to a lot of, meetings about that, and I read a lot of proposals and drafts and redistricting maps and all of that. And that all really stemmed from the population increase that we were expecting. But this plan says that the population is expected to drop. And so I was really confused as to how those two things could not be aligned, what the schools are saying we need and then what this proposal is saying. It did say that it used data collected from the census through the pandemic. So then I even wondered, is that data really useful at all then? Because I know that a lot of data we collected during the pandemic was not reflective of our actual needs or what we could use for a projection. And so those were concerns of mine also. And so if the projections in this draft plan are not accurate and the population is not expected to go down, and it also didn't include, by the way, those projections were made prior to the new development, so, which I don't understand either, because this draft is dated in November, which I feel like it should have used the most up-to-date and accurate information that we have, which would have been post the development. But if the population is going to increase, then that's a whole nother level to the traffic problem that we have. And so I'm a little bit concerned, just in general, about how much of a population we have here, because we just built elementary schools to fit the population that we're projecting and expecting, but pretty soon we're gonna need a new middle school, and we're gonna need to expand everything else. And the more developments we put here for housing means more families, more children, and then I just don't know, where we get all the space for all these kids, and so that's my concerns.
I feel like I'm the only one to answer a question. Jim is good. He was a school teacher here. But the graduating class at Cheshire High School is about 50 more than when I graduated 55 years ago. The student population peaked out, and Paul Cowlus was the business manager for the school system. He might be able to answer this also, but it peaked out at about 5,300 students. And right now it's about 4,600. So without the school additions, or the 2 new schools that are being built, the schools that are there held a population of students 500 more than there is now. Cheshire High School is a 1,600 student high school, and it has 1,250 students in it. And we did look into the different numbers of the different apartments. The apartment complex, and for a lack of a better word, I'm going to say the 114 units up by Darcy, Blackie's, Byam Road, whatever, Hazel Drive, whatever you want to call it up in that area, Cheshire Heights, there's 114 units, and I had asked the town planner to look into what the student population was. It was 4. 4 additions to the student. Now, I have also requested at the last couple of meetings that we get an update from the Board of Education for the student population from Stonebrook, or Stonegate, or whatever.
Stonebridge, I think.
Yep, and from the condos that are in there, to see what that population, and I don't believe he has received that back yet. Have you, Mike?
No, I have not. The last data that we had would be before the certificate of occupancies were issued for Stonebridge, Lot 3, the apartments.
Mhm.
And really, the total development, you had 75 kids that were residing
Coming out of
within-
the 300 units?
No, within all the developments.
75 total?
Yeah, if I recall.
Could
It's
you
not
get
a-
us a breakdown so we could speak to these people intelligently
So-
and let them
so,
know
so-
what is coming from each project?
The Lakeside, like you said, it was less than 4 or 5 kids that were coming out of that development. The one, I think a difference out of the developments was Mapleview up here off of East Mitchell.
Yep.
That had more kids, but if you start looking at breakdown of the number 3-bedroom units that are part of the development, that's a difference between the others. But for the multifamily housing, for the most part, we are consistent with the Rutgers study, which says a apartment or rental product only generates 0.07 kids per unit.
And I want to address Route 10, because at the last meeting or the meeting before, we had put forward a proposal for the state to go ahead on eminent domain and take some of the properties around the lights and the walkways so that they could coordinate the traffic and the lights throughout Cheshire, because right now they're just hodgepodge. And as you know, if you go at the wrong time, if you go when those kids are going into school or getting out of school, you're sitting. So we are trying.
Well, I appreciate that, and I can tell that you are all trying and that the whole town, has been taking this and considering this, and I appreciate that. I want to say 2 things, is that the occupancy of children in the apartments, what it is now, is not necessarily always going to stay that way. Just to keep in mind, obviously, people stay in apartments on shorter terms than they do usually in homes that they own, right? So those apartments could turn over, and we could see those numbers increasing. The other thing is that with the transportation, I would really like to recommend, and I don't know if this is possible, that we have a shuttle service that do a whole loop from the north end all the way down Route 10 and then down to the West Main Street and then back. And it could be a very affordable price, and it could be a Cheshire Run shuttle, and it could just loop the town, or people could call for it, or however you would want to do it, but I think that would make things accessible, and it would make it so that we could not have to use our own personal transportation vehicles, which is causing a lot of traffic and a lot of damage to the environment. Also, I want to add that we need another pool, because the Cheshire Swim Team takes up all the use of the pool. And I'm not anti-swim team, I just want to go on record as saying that, because I know that's a very big part of this town, and I think that's great, and go swim team. But you can only use about 25% of the pool on a regular day when there's swim lessons going on and swim team going on. And so if we're going to be building things, I'd like to see another pool. And if Cheshire Fitness Zone can build a pool in town, I think we could build a pool. But I just think that the other types of development that we're doing, I think we really need to just look around to the residents of the town and really ask them if they want more developments. Because I didn't move to Cheshire for more development. I came from Long Island, and if I wanted to stay where the development was, I would have stayed there. So I'm just going on record as saying my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment about the Route 10. Back in the 1970s, when I first moved here, there was a huge meeting in the town, and it was how to improve the traffic on Route 10. And they had 3 proposals: widen Route 10, all the businesses said no. A bypass to the west, everybody on that side of town said no. Bypass to the east, everybody said no. And the state said, we give up. When you have a plan, you really want to go forward with the town support, call us. That was 1972-3. The town needs to get a firm direction and make a bypass if they want it, not make it, but get the state to cooperate. But other than that, if someone's got a plan, we'll try to help them get it through. Thank you.
Is it my turn? Hi. Good evening. My name is Caitlin Wolken, 279 Mountain Road in Cheshire. This is my first meeting, so apologies if I do anything incorrectly. I just have 2 comments on the POCD. So I guess 3, because first I want to thank everybody for their hard work on this document. I just moved to Cheshire last year. And so reading the first, 30 pages or whatever, kind of outlining like the history of the town and where it's been, where it's going, it was really helpful for me. So 2 things. First, I wanted to state that I agree with the group that talked about Mixville Park and encouraging the town not to use Bartlam as a model for any Mixville improvements. Bartlam is amazing. I have a 3-year-old. We're there all the time. We do swim lessons. But Mixville is a special place and should be honored as a different kind of park than Bartlam. Sure, update the play structure, but please do not put play fields there. Show kids of Cheshire there's recreation other than youth sports. And the walking path there and the birding there is really, really special. So I would like to just put that in as a comment. And then second, I was disappointed to see that traffic calming measures were listed as a 7 to 10 year item on the implementation matrix. We can't wait 7 to 10 years for traffic calming measures. I live on Mountain Road. It's a busy road. I know I bought a house on a busy road. But 4,800 cars a day, according to the POCD, drive down my road. And I was looking at the interactive data dashboard. There have been 114 calls for car accidents this year in Cheshire already. There were more than 750 last year. If we want quality of life, and we're talking about safety and pedestrians and bikes and all this stuff, we need to have traffic calming measures sooner than 7 to 10 years. That is not an acceptable timeline to slow cars down. Okay, that's it. Sorry, I'm getting all fired up. It's practice for the next agenda item, so thank you.
Hi, everyone. Kelsey Butler-Wakes, 1244 Half Moon Road. I know we've been here a while, so I'll keep it brief. I think a lot of fellow residents have focused a lot on the environmental impact, which of course is a major component of this plan. I know you guys will continue to partner with other town councils and town committees as you move forward to execute this plan. I think some areas that we haven't really hit on that need to be considered are the overall economic impacts to the residents of the town, and I ask you to consider those as you move forward in this plan. I was born and raised in this town. I bought a house in this town, so I'm obviously very passionate about being here. But some of the key areas I see highlighted in some of the action areas that really I'd ask you to focus on from an economic impact point of view are Mixville Park, as many people have referenced. I'd really like to see the data from Bartlam Park that really helps drive this decision, opposed to deciding that we're going to build more fields there without understanding the quality of life as well as economic impacts of that. In addition, as we're talking about development, I see a line item here talking about volunteer fire departments. I think it would be really helpful if the town knew at what line we're going to need to hire a full-time fire department. Maybe that's been discussed previously and I'm not aware, but I think as residents, it's something that's going to increase our taxes. So again, as we're looking at development, it's something to consider. And then the last area is it talks about exploring new TIF opportunities. And within the document, it outlines years 3 to 4 to evaluate this. I'd imagine it would be really important to understand the economic impact of Stonebridge Crossing before we move forward with other TIF areas. My understanding to date is that Stonebridge Crossing is going to generate $5 million in tax revenue. But I think we have yet to see the exact impact on services of that development. So I'd ask just again, as we're looking at this development from an economic point of view, that we consider, all factors. We make sure we collect the data on previous decisions made to drive future ones that may be similar to the past. Thank you.
Fiona Pearson, 100 Strathmore Drive. I just want to thank you all for all your hard work on this document, and I want to thank all the members of the public who came out today and spoke on behalf of your interests on this document as well. It's an important document. This is improved very much so, I believe, from the 2016 version of this document. It's much more comprehensive, considers the schools in a way that the last document did not. Clearly, there are still items missing, and that was made clear by a number of folks here tonight. Environment reviews, management and repair of riparian buffers, stormwater management, culverts, net zero goals, charging smart initiatives, energy initiatives. So certainly I hope that you will continue to listen to the commissions and the members of the commissions in this community. I do want to say, as someone who is on town council and liaison for Mixville Park, and I've heard a couple of comments and concerns about Mixville Park, I know that the plan for Mixville Park at least is very, very different from, my understanding is it's not sports fields, it's a very different plan that they've got in place, but that's something that ought to be clarified, I believe, in the POCD, so that we can ensure that the public is clearly aware of that. And the only other thing, too, I'll say is I know that there were some members of the public who asked for improved communication, and I know that our town manager recently hired, and we have our first newsletter coming out regarding what is happening in town, including hearings like this tonight. And information about the POCD, so you don't just have to hear the coalition, Fiona from the coalition, Karen Schnitzer from the coalition. Glad you got the email and that you're out here speaking. But obviously there are groups. I know Doug Levins with the YMCA is very good at communicating information in terms of what's happening in our community. But now we do have a town-sponsored newsletter, so hopefully you will go to our town website, sign up for that newsletter, sign up for these announcements for hearings so that you can become involved like you are tonight. It's good to hear from so many different diverse voices here tonight. So again, I hope you take these voices seriously. Again, I appreciate it's hard work. You have a whole lot. I don't envy your work on this front here. But I look forward to seeing the revisions and the final version at some point in the coming months. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann Belcher, Cheshire Housing Authority. As always, I'm going to bring up affordable housing and make that unpopular comment. And I don't know if this document is the place to have it stated, but the Housing Authority is the face of affordable housing. That's where everybody calls help. And I know it's always talked about at these meetings. I've been at these meetings. We've had these discussions. We want it, affordable housing first for our town residents. But I need help. We're bound by fair housing laws. Everybody is. They're state and federal. Whether they follow them or not, I can't tell, but we do. Where we really need help is the private developers that are doing affordable housing. Excuse me. I know where they are, but I don't have their contact information. Is there a way we can make that part of a plan or part of when a developer comes and asks for that component in their development, that it's a requirement that I have their contact information? I have the contact information for Highland Farms. They've been great, Metro Realty. So I'm able to point people in that direction. But everybody else, Hazel Drive, East Mitchell, everybody else, I have no idea who to contact. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Is there a question for Mike? She's looking for
Put your microphone
contact
on.
information. The last speaker was looking for contact information from a connection to her group on affordable housing. Is there any agency in town would have that kind of contact information?
The difficulty would be is that we know the developers, and if the developers aren't managing the property, we don't have that contact information, nor do they. A lot of times, some of these affordable housing developments, they'll do a lottery for individuals that go to the deed restricted units, and it's really, unfortunately, it's the management companies that are running that. And it's not something that we actually keep a record of. Like I said, developers, the applicants, like what you see come before this commission, we know them. But when they get to the point and they're leasing, oftentimes we don't have that information. It becomes a private business doing that. And like I said, by the affordable units, they're bound by, there's very specific, and Ann could speak to the income verifications, et cetera, that they go through.
All right, thank you.
I just want to make a comment on the fire department, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we discussed it, and we said, as far as coverage, we were good, but we needed bodies. We needed people to volunteer.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Dead on, Chris.
Okay,
Remember
so
that.
hopefully we get some people to volunteer for the fire department.
Anybody else from the public? With that, we'll close the hearing.
Well, actually, Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask, do you want to close the hearing or do you want to keep it open? It's the commission's decision.
What's the sense of the commission? Is there anything anything
Do we have a
anticipate?
PLCD meeting scheduled before the next town public hearing?
No.
Or you can keep the public hearing?
Keep the public hearing
as long as you
open. But if you're going to keep the public hearing open, we'd ask for some direction. What would you like out from us?
I think we'd have to meet at least once in the PLCD to discuss all the comments that we heard tonight.
So,
And what
I
we
mean,
could put into the
you have like option A and option B. Option A is you keep the public hearing open. We look at some of the comments, try to incorporate it into the draft document if possible. We review it, we present it at the next public hearing. Or B, you can close the public hearing. You've heard all the public comments. We can wade through that and kind of go through, prepare maybe a memo, something for the commission to say, do you want to add this or don't you? Because, I mean, it's really your document.
And then we wouldn't be able to call another public hearing. How many days was there statutory requirements for this public hearing?
You gotta love this one.
So because this is commission-driven, there's statutory timeframes for referrals and for like posting it and that kind of stuff. But as far as keeping the public hearing open, there is no timeframe. So you can keep it open. There's no, 30 days, 65 days.
Up at the 35-day mark.
If we met our next POCD meeting, how quick could we make changes to the document and get it out to the people? It's been amazing because I've sat on 2 of these so far on my time up here, and I think we've had one person ever come in and speak. So tonight was just awesome from everybody coming in. Can we make changes quick enough, do you think, and get it out to them again to hear what
Yeah,
might wanna think.
I think that starts with meeting with you guys. I mean, I will say, there were really good comments made, but some of those comments are not actually POCD changes. They're plans
That's
or
why.
policies that are specific to boards and commissions, and that's not what this POCD is. A POCD is not meant to give specifics as to how to address traffic on Route 10. As you guys know, because you sat through it, this is a high-level document of basically what I would say broad concerns or issues throughout town, policy issues that are meant to be put in the document to lead a conversation for individual boards and commissions that might have regulatory authority over those things. And that's where you would get those finer detailed plans or issues that were talked about tonight. I think there was a handful that we took notes on that I think we could put in the text of the document, but largely much of what was stated would not be something that you would get to that sort of fine specificity in a POCD. It's an advisory document. I will say one of the things that we're planning on taking out is the time frame, because I feel like it led to a conversation of people think these things will get accomplished in those timeframes. And the reality is, again, it's an advisory document, and none of these things may happen over the next 10 years. You hope that they will, and you would hope that the town use it as a guideline to do that, but there's nothing that says the town has to do it. So we're gonna change that to a priority level of low, medium, or high, so that it better reflects what a POCD actually is. And I think it's a little misleading with the timeframes in there. So just some points from tonight's meeting. So I think there's some minor changes that we can make, but overall, the specificity that people are looking for is not something you would find in this document for those things.
When do we meet? When's our next POCD?
So your next POCD meeting for
Is it this month? Is it February?
would be Wednesday, actually.
Oh,
Want to meet Wednesday night?
not really, but for this, I would. So I would, I wouldn't be opposed to keeping it open. I mean, granted, we might not be able to change as much as everybody's talking about, but maybe we can, the next public hearing, go through, this was changed, this was changed, this was changed, this was not changed because blah, 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 blah.
Why don't we, then if we can.
And I'm just getting obviously, if you want to vote for it.
I'm just going to
saying,
make a suggestion to the commission so that we give the consultant time to incorporate everything. If you want to keep the public hearing open, I would suggest continue it to March 9th. That'll give us plenty of time to make sure we'll kind of break down what can and cannot go in. We'll things that we can add into it that are consistent with a plan, we'll put in, highlight, show it to the commission, and we'll present it to the public at that.
And you don't even have to do it March 9th. You could do it whenever you want. You can go.
March 9th, that's
You could do March 9th, but if we had to go to March 20th, you could do that.
Yeah.
too. We're not set in what
No,
we have to
you're
do.
not, this is a unique situation. You're not running up against a mandatory action date.
All right, my vote is to keep it open. I don't know.
March
Yeah.
9th?
Is that the sense of the commission? Sensing that is the sense of the commission,
Just to the
we would concur with that. I think it's important that members of the public know that they are heard, that we obviously can't do everything that everybody wants us to do, nor should we. But I think it would be a confidence-building measure, and that the public understands that their concerns are known by the commission.
Question. If we change it, does the town council need to vote on it again okay, it's all set. Okay.
No, that referral's been completed pursuant to statute. Really, that was a minor referral. If this is under the statute, you have the ability to hold a public hearing, adopt and/or amend the plan, because it's your role.
Jim?
Do we have do we have a certain date that we, as a committee, have to act on this, vote it up or down, or
We have,
5 months.
we have to,
June? Thank you.
yeah, the beginning of June is the latest that we could.
We've got
we can
enough
go.
time.
But, because remember, we would have to adopt it, then at the same time have it filed after adoption with OPM to stay off the naughty list.
I have a question. So if a POCD is supposed to be specific enough to be able to guide actions and changes, but flexible enough, right, to be implemented over 10 years, and it's your plan and it's our plan, right? I'm having a problem with the language of, the brief statement of what you can't put in there or how much you can't put in there, because the other statement that was made was that you're not even going to do all this. You're just going to use it as your guide, right? So in my mind, if it's your plan and it's our plan, we could put whatever we want in there, right? It's up to you guys to approve it in the end, and that it's there just to guide you. There's no guarantee that any of it will be done. So
It is a reference guide. It is not a statutory or legislative
Correct.
manual. It's not the law.
So if you don't put it in, it won't be referenced. So I don't think the lady from Tyke gets to say what goes in the plan. That's all I'm saying. It's up to you guys and it's up to us. And we came here today to say what we had to say. Now it's up to you guys to decide what goes in the plan, not her.
Leave the public hearing open?
So yeah, we'll leave the public hearing open till March 9th. Go. No, we're not adjourned. We got another matter.
Do you want to take like a 5-minute recess?
Yes. We would like to take a 5-minute recess. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. So done.
Alex trivia on their website. I'm not kidding.
Mike, you want to read the charge?
Oops, sorry, I have a few papers here. All right, this is a public hearing for the stipulated judgment proposed matter of 869 West Main Street Associates versus Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission concerning real property located at 869 West Main Street, Assessors Map 49, Lot 72, 76301, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody. What I thought I would do is talk to you a little bit about how we got here, because all of our prior conversations about the strategy in defending the appeal and the negotiations of a potential settlement have been an executive session, so there really isn't any public record so far of what we've talked about. So if you bear with me, I know it's late already, but obviously before the commission tonight is consideration of a settlement agreement and stipulated judgment in an appeal from the commission's denial back in September 2024 of 869 West Main's zone change application. And as you know, the subject property is comprised of 3 parcels located at 869 West Main and on Mountain Road. In total, the subject property consists of around 10.8 acres located in the C3 and R20 zoning districts. 869 West Main submitted an application to the commission in March 2024 to rezone the subject property. The application was submitted pursuant to your regulation 44A. The application, if you recall, was accompanied by a preliminary site plan set, preliminary architectural plans, rendered architectural and landscaping details, a preliminary stormwater management memo, confirmation from the WPCA of adequate sewer capacity, and a will serve letter from the RWA, as well as an affordable housing needs memo and other materials. Other materials including the traffic study that was prepared by David Sullivan from SLR. The proposed project, of course, consists of 74 residential apartments, and as required by Reg 44A, 25% or 19 units would be set aside and reserved for affordable houses, affordable households. I'd like to talk about the regulation to kind of set the context for this settlement agreement. 30 years ago, 1996, the commission enacted Regulation 44A, which is an affordable housing development regulation. That's the title of Section 44A of the regulations. Under the provisions of 44A, an applicant may obtain approval to rezone certain properties in town to the affordable housing district and subsequently develop a multifamily community, or as it's called in the regulation, an affordable housing development, where 25% of the proposed units are set aside for moderate income households for at least 40 years. Moderate income households for purposes of Section 44A, the reg, means at or below 80% of the area median income or state median income, whichever is less. To qualify as an affordable housing development under your reg, a property has to meet certain criteria, including location within certain zones, which include the R20 and C3 zones, frontage on certain roadways within Cheshire, including Route 70, West Main, access to public water and sewer, and a size of 5 to 25 acres. An affordable housing development applicant has to submit both a zone change petition to rezone the site to an affordable housing district overlay zone and a special permit and site plan application for approval of the proposed affordable housing development. As you know from prior discussions, Reg 44A, since its inception in 1996, has incorporated much of Connecticut's Affordable Housing Land Use Appeals Act, better known as Connecticut General Statutes 8-30G. It includes the 8-30G, which provides that, the 8-30G test, which provides that in order to deny an application, the denial must be required to protect substantial public interests in health, safety, and other matters which the commission may legally consider. Second, the aforementioned public interests have to clearly outweigh the need for affordable housing. And third, the substantial public interest at issue is not capable of being addressed by reasonable changes to the plan. Regulation 44A 5.2 requires the commission also consider, in deciding whether to approve a zone change, consistency with the town's plan of conservation and development and the supply of affordable housing within Cheshire and the central Naugatuck Valley planning region. The town's POCD, as you know, identifies the subject property as a potential area for clustered residential development. This case, this appeal that you have a proposed settlement agreement in front of you on tonight, addresses only the commission's denial of a zone change petition that was filed under Regulation 44A. If that zone change petition is approved, either through your approval of the settlement agreement or through litigation, the applicant will return seeking special permit and site plan approval from you. 869 West Main, if you recall, and I know it's been a while, and a couple of you weren't on the commission at the time, so I'm going to kind of lean towards giving a little bit of redundancy on the facts, if that's okay. 869 West Main is located in the C3 zoning district, where retail businesses under 50,000 square feet, restaurants, professional offices, and medical clinics are permitted by administrative non-discretionary site plan approval. The two parcels on Mountain Road are located in the R20, the residential 20 zoning district, where certain planned residential developments, nonprofit schools, museums, hospitals are permitted with special permit approval. The commission's denial of the zone change application that's been appealed was based on two findings. One, that the development would result in the loss of a commercially zoned property in Cheshire. Please keep in mind that zoning regulation 44A provides that certain parcels within the C3 commercial zone, including 869 West Main, may be redeveloped with an affordable housing development. And then second, that the traffic impacts of the proposed community would create a safety issue. With respect to the traffic issue, as per Connecticut law, the appeal is based strictly on the record of the proceedings that you conducted back in 2024. I won't get into the details of the testimony. You're all aware of the record, and frankly, it doesn't benefit the process for me to comment more than I have in the multiple executive sessions we've had together with regard to the merits of the appeal. The applicant proposed various public traffic improvements, such as signal timing adjustments at the West Main Street Mountain Road intersection. And after the appeal was filed, significantly, we learned that the town has been exploring different traffic management alternatives in the areas of the project for several years, and in fact had engaged its own independent engineers, Barton and LaJudas. Barton and LaJudas, B&L, developed a solution that's been presented to the Connecticut DOT Roundabout Committee for review and consideration. The solution, as you know, involves double roundabouts at the West Main Mountain Road and West Main Prospect Road intersections, and is being reviewed by that DOT Roundabout Committee. If that proposed solution is approved by the DOT Roundabout Committee and a project is ultimately approved by the town council, the town would in all likelihood seek LoTSIP funding for the construction phase of the project, The town's had initial discussions with the NVCOG, who has been supportive of the town pursuing LoTSIP funding for this traffic improvement project. The design costs would be borne by the town. So one thing to keep in mind is that 44A, the regulation upon which the zone change application is based, has, as I've indicated, been in effect for 30 years. It's been revised several times since its inception, most recently in 2019. That 8-30G test, if you will, that 8-30G standard remains. The 2019 changes to 44A were intended to increase ways that additional affordable housing units could be added in specific geographic areas. That's reflected in Cheshire's 2022 Affordable Housing Plan. Cheshire, as you know, limits density for affordable housing development to 10 units per acre and sets other bulk standards, including minimum parking and maximum lot coverage standards. As you know from the record before you back in 2024, when the applicant prosecuted its zone change application, the expert testimony that was provided by Mr. Sullivan and SLR was the only expert testimony that is in the record. And so, like I said, I don't plan to rehash any of that record here tonight. One other comment I wanted to make, just because I want to refresh your memory that this was an issue that you dealt with, is that you received a protest petition under 8-3B of the general statutes. And the protest petition, as it's called, triggers a 2/3 approval requirement. However, given that Reg 44A mirrors 8-30G, and Connecticut courts have found that 8-3B petitions are inapplicable in the 8-30G context, my opinion is that the petition doesn't apply here. I've discussed with you on multiple occasions my thoughts and opinions as to the merits of the appeal. That said, when voting on the appropriateness of a zone change, you act in your legislative capacity. Courts won't interfere with the exercise of legislative discretion unless the action that you take is contrary to law, arbitrary, illegal, or an abuse of discretion. And when you're acting on a zone change, the test to be applied is whether substantial evidence supports a finding that the action is in accordance with your plan and whether it's related to the normal police powers enumerated in the general statutes, 8-2 for Planning and Zoning Commission. In this case, the commission has its regulation, 44A, that it has to abide to. That means that what would typically be the substantial evidence standard in a typical rezoning proceeding, in this case, is subject to that four-pronged test from 8-30G that was essentially copied and pasted into Section 44A of your regs. In other words, under Section 44A of the regs, the commission is required to balance traffic concerns that were raised back in the hearings in 2024 with the need for affordable housing and to suggest reasonable changes to the plan in balancing those interests. With that in mind, what you have before you is the proposed settlement and stipulation with respect to the zone change. I know there were previously concerns that were expressed about further clarifying in any proposed stipulation that this applies only to the zone change, and that the commission is not in any way waiving its rights and its obligations with respect to any future special permit and site plan application. We did, in the present draft, add a sentence that clarifies that that is exactly the case. Specifically, on the second to last paragraph on page 6, we added the following sentence. Notwithstanding the foregoing, nothing herein is intended to or shall limit the commission's authority to review the special permit and site application to be filed by 869 West Main regarding the subject property. So the proposed settlement basically boils down to approving the zone change. If the project is ultimately approved, special permit, site plan down the road, and the town proceeds with the roundabout solution, 869 West Main would contribute $200,000 towards the town's design costs for the roundabouts. And likewise, if the project is ultimately approved and the roundabouts are constructed, 869 West Main would donate a portion of its land at the northwest corner of the subject property to facilitate the roundabouts, as long as the donation doesn't impact overall density, parking count, or layout. In other words, it can't cause the project to be non-compliant with the regulation because they're donating land to accommodate the traffic solution. And then the last term would be the commission would agree in the settlement to consider a proposed amendment to 44A that allows the opportunity to reduce the number of affordable units required if a significant contribution to a public space or amenity is provided. So that's roughly the context and the outline of the proposed settlement. I certainly appreciate your patience with the process and with understanding that, you know, we have a regulation, 44A, that essentially mirrors Connecticut General Statute 8-30G. So it's different than a typical rezoning application. It's a different analysis and different considerations. I know that the applicant's counsel, Andre Gomes, is also here. So if you'd like to hear from her, you can certainly afford her the opportunity to make any comments that she'd like you to consider. Thank you.
Questions?
You said that the town's idea for the roundabout wasn't the state's idea?
No, the town hired Barton and LaJudas a couple of years ago to start exploring potential traffic solutions. And Barton and LaJudas developed a preliminary concept of a roundabout solution. They discussed the potential roundabout with Scott Bushy, who's the chair, I believe, of the roundabout committee at the DOT. The roundabouts are a very hot traffic mitigation solution in Connecticut right now. In fact, the DOT has a webpage dedicated to roundabouts, and they even have some, when you're suffering from insomnia later tonight, you can read the roundabouts trivia that they've posted. That's riveting stuff. And then input from SLR, the applicant's engineers, as well, as to the design of potential roundabouts. So it's been kind of a three-party collaboration trying to find something that the DOT could get comfortable with that would work not only for the neighborhood as a whole, but assuming that this project gets approved, that would accommodate any concerns that the town has on that front as well. Yes. Yeah, we didn't know that until after the appeal was filed, and we wanted to get a consultant to assist us to try to find a reasonable alternative for traffic management. That's when we found out that the town, in fact, had already been working on this. Unrelated to the project, as you said.
Better.
Well,
Start, yeah, go with that. And then, I mean, we're accepting money. Even, we're not happy, but we think the traffic is too much in that area. I'm sorry about that. The fact that we're accepting money, I think I can ask you this, in your professional opinion, if this went forward and we fought this, what do you think Cheshire's chances are in courts?
You have to remember that I have a professional responsibility to be a zealous advocate for the commission as the town attorney representing the commission in the appeal. And I can't publicly make any comments that undermine the ability to defend the appeal in the event that the settlement's not approved. So I can't comment on what a likely outcome of the appeal is.
Given all the contingencies, your experience with this matter, your experience in defending similar matters, is it your professional best recommendation that we accept the settlement?
I do recommend the settlement, yes.
Would be the two lawyers would have to talk to each other to get it.
And that it's likely that had we not, we would lose we were getting more with their contribution than we would otherwise likely get.
There's two potential outcomes from the appeal. You win or you lose. If you lose, then the zone change is approved. They come back for their special permit and site plan approval. And there's no contribution of design costs or land towards a traffic mitigation solution that the town is planning to pursue regardless of this project. So from my perspective, you certainly would rather, if the project is gonna be built, you certainly would rather get a contribution of funds towards the design costs for the town. It's not the commission's costs, it's the town's costs. LoTSIP funds construction costs. LoTSIP doesn't fund design costs. And so if you lose, it's not just the money, you'd also have to go take a portion of the land by eminent domain, which has a cost associated with it as well.
So in your best view, that the town is better off with this proposed?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unusual for there to be some type of, whether it's a fund, affordable housing fund, on a per unit basis that there's funds contributed towards, or some significant capital improvement project that there's a contribution made towards. I mean, this is it's a zone change application. So, the applicant certainly isn't required it's a settlement negotiation. It's a resolution, saves the applicant some time, though this appeal's been pending for over a year. And they've lost a lot of time, and construction costs have increased, obviously, in the meantime. So the delays have made the project more expensive for them, but it's certainly, this alternative is superior to losing an appeal.
And I think to paraphrase Commissioner Kurtz's concern, there's nothing untoward with accepting this funds.
Absolutely not. I mean, I can understand, because you're the Planning and Zoning Commission and you typically are not involved in monetary transactions, but this money's not going to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This money is specifically restricted to design costs that the town would incur if it ultimately approved this roundabouts project and undertook it. So, you know, this is a developer that recognizes that there's a feeling by the commission, even though they strongly disagree with this, and even though they argue the record doesn't support this, they recognize there's a feeling by the commission that they are contributing to a traffic problem. So if they are contributing to the traffic problem, then the monetary contribution towards the design costs and the donation of land contributes towards the resolution of that traffic problem.
That last stipulation you said is the commission shall consider reducing the number of affordable units, right?
Consider.
Okay, it's not bound.
We don't
Okay.
have any application right now that's asking you to do that, so the terms of that, you know, it's only, the reason why that's in there is because of a desire to recognize that in a scenario where you've got a significant contribution to a public space or amenity being provided by the developer, that the economics of the project change. You know, I mean, these projects have to get financed and the pro forma has to make sense. So what they're saying is, hey, you know, if there's a significant contribution to a public space or an amenity that's being provided and it changes the economics of the project, we'd like the opportunity to come in and apply for you to consider a proposed amendment to reduce the number of units.
Thank you.
So,
I want to be sure that if we accept your recommendation, that the applicant has to come back in front of us for site plan approval, and that any member of the public at that time will have the ability to oppose this project again. Is that true?
yes, you'll have a public hearing on the special permit.
Okay, so they're not giving up any of their rights, and you are, as our town attorney, recommending that we accept this or we're gonna lose in court.
Listen, I know you guys want me to say we're gonna lose.
The same way
Oh,
John.
okay, best interest, thank you.
lawyers.
All right, I get it.
Cut them off.
Hey, I forgot, Natalia had something you wanted to say. Did you get that email today? Can't do it?
For the record, no member of the commission who is not present can put forward any testimony or ask any questions.
Could you explain that? If they're not here, but I mean, everybody here at this table has.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
And the public, right?
And the public, yes. This is an open public
Just gotta
meeting.
be in the room to participate.
Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public have any questions or anything to say?
Hi, good evening. I think this is off now.
Yeah, it's on.
Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. Okay, hi. Okay, so Caitlin Wolken, 279 Mountain Road again. So like I was saying earlier this evening, I didn't live here when all of this was happening a couple years ago, but I've spent the last couple weeks kind of digging into it a little bit more. And I guess that it started around election time, actually. I saw that there was like an update in an executive session about this case. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I started reading about it. I'm like, oh, okay, affordable housing. You know, I'm not a NIMBY. I want teachers to be able to live in this town. I want, you know, I think that projects make sense. But I was, you know, wondering who was behind like the LLC. And I guess I'm just kind of curious to hear like if my understanding of all of this is correct and if this is kind of how things work in Cheshire typically. So I looked up like the LLC for 869 West Main and saw a familiar name as the principal. It was John Malone, and it was election time, and there were signs everywhere. Like, I was like, that name sounds so familiar. I was like, oh, this guy's running for town council. Unless there's two John Malones in town, which when I looked at the GIS parcels for the town, it didn't seem like there were two John Malones. So I'm like, that's interesting that, you know, a sitting member of town council is suing the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then when I was reading the settlement, the proposed settlement, I thought it was really interesting, like that, so one thing that stood out was like, Mr. Malone works for SLR, so it was one of his coworkers that did the traffic study. And then I also got to the part about the town and the town's consultants and 869 working together thinking about this roundabout project. And I was just wondering if the town typically collaborates with people like suing them on other projects, as well as it seems kind of like a conflict of interest to be on town council suing the town. And I was wondering if I'm just kind of, if I've pieced this together, like, is this correct? Is all of this correct?
I don't believe that John Malone was at the time on the.
He wasn't until November.
He wasn't on at the time.
He was on 23 to 25. He was.
Yeah, he was on the.
Okay.
So I just thought that all of that was really interesting in reading more about this, because it kind of, it paints the settlement in kind of a different light in my mind, that, you know, the town is working independently with this other firm on this roundabout project, which was cool. I like roundabouts. But then they're collaborating with a group that is actively suing them. And then within the settlement, something I was wondering about, so, you know, you mentioned that roundabouts are hot right now, but if they fall out of favor and the town and CTDOT determine that there's a different traffic mitigation strategy that's appropriate for that intersection, we just don't get the money. I mean, the settlement kind of seems like a foregone conclusion at this point, that like the zoning change is gonna go through, but like if, you know, roundabouts end up not being the correct fix for that area, then there's no money according to my interpretation of the settlement. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a librarian who's good at finding public documents online. And then the one that really kind of grinded my gears is the reducing the number of affordable units part. Because, I mean, that was the whole reason that this whole conversation is even happening. Like, the C3 change and like the combination of the different parcels, like that would have never even been a conversation had it not been about affordable housing. So at like the last minute to just, you know, they're gonna ask to have fewer affordable apartments in the development. And I think that's problematic. And then my last note is I was wondering if like SLR would be one of the people bidding on like the design for the roundabout project, and if the 200K would actually be like in kind and not a cash payment to the town. So I'm not against this development really in principle. I'm new to town, and the more I dug into this, I was kind of like, wow, is this really how things work here?
Would you like me to address those comments? SLR is not working for the town. As I indicated, B&L is the town's consultant. SLR was the applicant's consultant. SLR spent an enormous amount of time on the project as the drawings reflect. So it was my recommendation that B&L not work in a vacuum and produce a roundabout design and go to the DOT with it without finding out from SLR whether they had any input based on the extensive study that they had done, since they were the only traffic expert that testified at the zone change application proceedings. So SLR is not working for the town. We hired our own traffic consultant. In terms of Mr. Malone, applications have to be processed based on the zoning regulations and applicable law, not based on who the applicant is. Okay? Public officials don't forfeit their right to own and develop property, and we shouldn't evaluate a case based on who the applicant is. That's how we end up with more than zoning appeals. We end up with equal protection and constitutional law and civil rights lawsuits. We don't do that in Cheshire, okay? It's an administrative appeal. It's a record-based appeal. All that matters from the Planning and Zoning Commission's perspective is knowing what your regulation says and applying the record to that regulation and determining what your regulations tell you to do. That's all we do here. And when we have lawsuits, they're not lawsuits for monetary damages. They're lawsuits that are appealing your application and implementation of your regulation. That's why they're record-based. We don't have a trial where you have a witness or you have a jury or, frankly, any lawyering, you know, beyond filing a brief and arguing. We're stuck with the record that we have from the administrative appeal, from the original proceedings. So from the administrative appeal proceeding perspective, the record is the record. It doesn't matter who the applicant is. Okay?
Jim?
I think that if there's an affordable housing number and a little bit of land's got to be given up, I don't want to see that lower the number of affordable units. Can we make an amendment to that offer?
No, if you already said, it's if and when they present a site plan, we have to consider it. Is that?
So this does not commit us to lowering the number of units.
Right now, you're not being asked to do that. What you're being asked to do is agree that you'll consider it if and when it happens.
If and when it happens, can we say no?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're being asked to consider it. You've gotta say no based on a record.
You know, we can't get that answer from something that's not in front of us.
Yeah.
Can we change traffic circle to traffic improvements?
Well, applicant's counsel's here. We can ask her for her input on that.
Thank you, Attorney D'Onofrio. For the record, Andre Gomes, Hinckley Allen, counsel for the applicant. Nice to see you all again, some new faces as well. And Happy New Year. I think I can still say that in early February. So Commissioner Bowman, the request is to take the stipulated judgment and change traffic roundabout generally to traffic improvements.
Yes.
I don't see a problem with that. The intent, I think, and I just want to take the opportunity, the intent of the money payment, or this donation, if you will, of the funds, is to facilitate the design of the roundabout. Perhaps we say, I would suggest the roundabout or other similar traffic improvements at this intersection. Something along those lines.
How about just traffic improvement design
At this
at this site?
location.
At this site.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I will accept a motion
Motion to adjourn.
to adjourn.
Close the public hearing first.
Close the public, I did. That public hearing is closed.
Motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We'll stand in recess for 5 minutes before, 1 minute. All right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I just want to make a note that one of the commission members has left at 9:15, and we still have a quorum.
Thank you. Now for the call of the regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
this is regular meeting,
yes.
new business?
If you would like.
One point of order, one new business. Point of
Okay.
order. Previously, we voted 701 that we be informed of who were the people were in the executive session that were not Public Building Commission members. I don't believe that's been delivered yet, as it should have been at several prior meetings. For the record, can we have the names of those people who were at the executive session November 24th of last year?
For Public Building Commission?
No, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay,
For the P and Z, for the executive
Well,
session.
It would just be staff, staff and council.
Could
So
you
it'd be-
delineate staff, please?
Staff. It would be
Could you
Mike-
delineate the specific
I'm
staff?
about to, Jim.
Pardon me?
I'm about to, Jim.
Thank you.
It would be myself, Mike Liddon, Town Planner, Colleen Costello, Land Use Specialist, and Lena Frazier, Assistant Town Planner, with Council Jeff D'Onofrio.
Thank you for the public record. I have one other item. I've been trying to get a motion in front of you. I hand-delivered this several weeks ago. We had a meeting canceled because of snow. I resubmitted it, hand-delivered it. Still did not make the agenda. I was a duly elected officer. I was prohibited from attending your executive session. I'm asking that the town attorney respond in writing as to what basis. My position is the town attorney is not empowered to determine who can be at an executive session. This body is. If the town chairman were to rule, you would have the opportunity to challenge the ruling of the chair. Anyone who has a vested interest in the executive session may be permitted. As a duly elected member of this commission who is going to vote on the issue before us, you held an executive session. I was told I could not attend, and yet I want to hear in writing as to the reasons why. I don't think that's a difficult, and the motion's on the bottom, and I know someone here is going to second it, correct? Mr. Bowman?
Are you making the motion?
The motion on the bottom, yes.
Make the motion, Jim, please.
Sure.
Is this on the agenda?
One second.
Making a motion on something that's not on your agenda, is that what you're
Therefore, I move that the town attorney respond in writing as to why he felt that he, the town attorney, was authorized to prohibit my attendance and deprive the Planning and Zoning Commission of making that determination.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
Point of order. You know, this was, your letter was put as part of the correspondence for tonight's hearing.
My letter was carried as a motion. I specifically asked that it be put on in new business.
Okay, but it's on the agenda under new business. Before we go forward, let me ask the staff a question. Is the town attorney prepared to share their opinion tonight?
Of course.
Okay.
Can I ask that whatever you tell us be in writing?
Whatever he told us is being recorded right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the record.
As was indicated prior to the meeting, which I believe was November 24th, was that the date?
Correct.
Pursuant to the town charter, the terms of those newly elected officials began December 1st. So Mr. McKenney was not yet a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And it might have been my fault as the chairman. I asked the opinion of the town attorney whether you could sit or not, and that is the answer that I was given,
That I could not.
that you could not because you were not sworn in yet as a member. Although you were elected, but your term didn't start until, I believe it was December 1st when everybody was sworn in.
And yet you had members who didn't have to be here at that executive session.
I had staff. staff, and it was members that were sworn into the commission, and then staff, which is typical for as long as I ever remember of an executive session. I'm not here to defending you or saying you're wrong. I'm just laying it out there. That's when you say that I'm the one that's supposed to determine who goes in there. I believe I did the right thing by having who was in there.
You should have done it in an open session where each member could have challenged the ruling of the chair, because there are members of my party who felt I should be there. And you can have people who are not elected in there if there's a reason. And the
That's-
reason being, I'm supposed to vote on this issue tonight.
That's where I would refer to the town attorney when I asked who can sit, because I specifically saw you in the crowd.
Right, and
And I
I'm
didn't-
asking it for in writing because I still intend to challenge it, because this issue will come up every year there's an election.
True.
And it should be determined by Freedom of Information if need be, or some other source, what the correct answer is. And the reason I ask for it in writing is because I have a history of a town attorney saying one thing verbally and another thing in writing. We ended up at the Supreme Court over that issue. And I want to start out with something in writing that you can't say, well, I didn't mean that, or I didn't say that.
I responded in writing before the November 24th meeting. I think maybe Mr. Affey emailed me.
Not to me.
December 1st, read the charter. Elected officials,
I know what the charter says.
December 1st. The only people that can participate in executive session are people that are specifically invited who are going to actively participate. Somebody who's not participated as a commission member is not staff, is not counsel to the commission, and has no indication to me, has read the record as of November 24th, would not be actively participating in an executive session that I'm in.
And over and above what's in the statute, can you talk a little bit about attorney-client privilege and how that would be affected by the, having a non-elected?
You have a non-commission member who's not an employee of the town participating in an attorney-client privileged executive session. The privilege will be waived.
As long as I get in writing, I'm happy. Whether I just take a copy of the minutes, because I'll have something to go forward. Thank you.
It's the same rules for everybody. Anybody that wasn't, prior to December 1, the existing commissioners who may have lost or didn't run in the November election, they still were seated as the commissioners. It wasn't until December 1 that the newly elected commissioners came in by town charter. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have the people who didn't run or who lost in November
Didn't
still be
expect
on
to vote, just wanted to be informed as what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Yes.
You had a motion, you had a second, you can have discussion, you should vote it up
Sure.
or down.
Is there any discussion among the committee?
What are we voting for?
The resolution on the bottom
To
of that
get,
paper.
to get it in writing? Is that what?
That's it. That's all I'm asking for, his reason in writing.
Okay, Jim, but you will get it with the minutes.
Then why not say yes?
Well, you guys don't have jurisdiction to spend the town's money on it.
Yeah,
so.
it's, is it,
Okay.
are you,
I'll write, if you want me to write you a letter telling you what I just said, I'm happy to
Please.
do it.
Would you withdraw your motion at that point?
That would be fine.
Okay,
All right, then I'll
No,
withdraw my second.
I withdraw it.
thank you. We've already determined a closure, we've previously given the pledge of allegiance. We'll still look at the approval of the minutes from the January 12th public hearing.
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
You doing the public hearing and regular meeting together?
Yes, we're doing them together. Any discussion? I'll accept the motion.
You gotta vote on.
All right.
Made and seconded.
Made and second, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? For communications.
Mr. Chairman, one thing, you have a 824 referral from the town council regarding the sale of 422 North Brooksville Road. This is a building, it's the house that is just near Norton School. The town acquired the property, they did a lot line adjustment. Now we're looking to sell that as a building lot, basically. It's the old Jarman was the previous owner. So I have a motion for you. A motion to find the sale of the town property located at 422 North Brooksville Road pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 8-24 is consistent with the goals and objectives of the 2016 Plan of Conservation Development.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
You just have the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. I'm assuming everyone here wants to go to that. That's the presentation at the AquaTurf. So mark your calendars. We'll sign you up. If you want to, if you don't want to go, tell me. Otherwise, I'll sign up the commission. Yeah.
28 March?
I don't.
26th, right? That's
26th.
Thursday, I think, Jim.
Yeah. Last is just a communication from the Siting Council concerning a facility modification at 751 Higgins Road. It's just your normal docket, pursuant to docket 34. They're informing you of the application. I didn't see anything worthy of the commission commenting on it. It's just a coal locator request. Mr. Chairman, I would ask maybe if you go out of order since we have council here and possibly take up the new business for the stipulated judgment first, stipulated judgment on the matter of 869 West Main Street Associates LLC.
Without objection?
Okay, I have a motion for it. Move to approve stipulated judgment proposed in the matter of 869 West Main Street LLC versus Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission concerning the real property located at 869 West Main Street, Assessors Map 49, Lot 72, 76, 301, Cheshire, Connecticut. The judgment is approved based on material provided to the town attorney with a revision date of January 7th, 2026, with one change where the term roundabout is replaced for traffic improvements.
Move Stafford.
Have a second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Just a quick question. Is everybody voting? I don't know who's voting.
Yeah, I think everybody, has voted except for our alternate who is not privy to that. Everybody else able to vote?
Yes.
Yes, all right. With that discussion thing, this is, I'll be happy to go from left to right if people have comments.
No.
Just really quick, I voted no for this a year and a half ago, and I said it was a cool project, but the traffic, and I didn't know about the traffic circles, so I am hoping that fixes the problem, because I said if that traffic could be fixed, this would be a benefit to the community, so I'm going to vote yes.
So you voted yes?
I'm going to vote yes. We're just commenting, but yeah.
All right. I'm gonna vote yes too, but the traffic circle is just a design and really has nothing to do with this project. They didn't propose it. I want to be sure that's clear, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm voting for it too.
From the beginning, it's always my belief that we're responsible for following our own rules, and although our learned counsel is our zealous advocate, my independent review of this my view is that we're overwhelmingly likely to do worse in court than the settlement, and I am voting for it, if for no other reason that I believe that I am bound by state law and our own rules and regulations to have approved the zoning change.
Can't say I'm super happy about it, but let's hope that they can figure out the traffic down there. And for the betterment of Cheshire, I will be voting for this also.
I plan on voting in favor. Again, not happy, but is what it is.
I concur with Mr. Kaderis's comments and EJ's comments as well. I fall probably somewhere in the middle, but certainly this was a long time coming. I am also concerned about the traffic, but feel like a best effort has been made, both sides coming together, and we're likely, you know, not going to get a better outcome than this, so I will also vote for it.
With that, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Records show
6-1.
6-1. What's next? Up to the hydroponics.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to approve petition for zone text amendment on behalf of Hydroclonics LLC, Specialty Growers Realty LLC applicants requesting amendment to Section 30, Section Schedule A, 75 through 7, Section 26, and Section 31. The text amendment is based on the revisions provided by the applicant at the December 15th, 2025 meeting of the commission and is consistent with the goals and objectives of the 2016 Plan of Conservation Development. The effective date for the change will be February 13th, 2026.
I did see petitioner's counsel here earlier. Has he left?
He's watching on YouTube.
Okay.
Oh, their counsel.
Oh,
Let's talk about our counsel.
I just want to make sure.
Jeff's independent this one.
Yes.
His finger's loaded, watch out.
Moves that word. Moves. Motion, sorry.
Moves, I've heard it moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Just a discussion.
Yes, discussion, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Changing this zone text change, they will still have to come in before us.
They still have
With a
to
site
come
plan.
back with a special permit, going through the public hearing process and demonstrate they can meet their regulations.
Okay, so I just for discussion purposes, so it's on the record, I want to be sure, I will vote for this tonight, but I want to be sure that all offices, shipping and receiving, and anything necessary for growing other than the actual growing will be under a permanent structure and not a greenhouse structure. And it will meet all the requirements that they stipulated in the public hearing for odor control.
You could add that to their regulation, the proposal that very specifically and explicitly
Yeah, but
calls
where
it
do
out.
you add it? I didn't know where to add it, Mike.
You can add it to a zone change?
For a text amendment, what you can do is even after the advertisement, you can make it, the proposed regulations stricter, you can't lessen them. So then, otherwise you run afoul of the legal notice. If you want to make this stricter and say, these activities have to occur in a permanent building, that was part of the discussion during the public hearing on, where does what occur within the facility.
So
He was
do
on
I
record.
amend your motion now, or ask for an amendment?
You'd have to ask for amendment, because
I'd love to hear the amendment, yeah.
Say it again.
The amendment will be, all office, shipping, handling, receiving, and storage, other than for use as growing, will be in a permanent structure, and that they will abide by the zero ordinance, or zero odor, or odor elimination that they had stated at the public hearing.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the odor mitigation part of the regs? Part of the proposed
See,
regs?
that's what I was confused where it was, and
Well, I mean, the odor mitigation is going to apply to the entire facility. So regardless of whether it's the greenhouse or any other buildings, they have to meet that odor mitigation as based on their proposal. But if you want to break it down further, nitty-gritty, and say, I want, processing and shipping and receiving within a permanent structure, you could do that if you want.
You could do that. I wouldn't do the odor thing. The odor thing
Okay.
is already.
You're
taken
over
care
the
of.
top on that.
Yeah,
that.
the
All
owners,
office shipping and receiving and storage and other uses other than growing will be under a permanent structure.
I'll accept that.
Will you accept it as a second?
Yeah, but sure.
Okay.
Question, would drying, if they're drying the material, would that be considered storage? Would that be part of the growing process?
It's not growing.
It's not growing. Yeah, DJ's right.
Storage.
I would classify that as storage. What I would suggest to you, that if you're comfortable with this amendment, when and if a special permit application comes before you, make sure you have very, very detailed floor plans to confirm compliance should this amendment pass to the proposed text.
They need to know it
I think they
going
do.
into coming in front of
They-
us with a site plan that,
They knew when they took the greenhouse out, that changed, at least my opinion, on this part of it. It's just gonna make their site plan application much tougher. To me, that's how I feel. I don't know how they're gonna get their greenhouse to conform to what they say they're gonna do. But they have to because of the odor mitigation
Right.
and what they've put forward for the greenhouse. So I'm gonna vote for this, the change. And then when they bring the site plan in, it's gonna be tough.
Well,
They
just
have
said-
to, they have to listen to what, they have to do what
They
they
have
said
to
they were
follow
gonna do.
their rules.
Yes.
right.
Let's use that.
Yes, sorry.
Good job.
So I'm not going to vote for this. I feel pretty strongly that we are still inching our way into what this could mean for us as a town. I don't think we've got the solid rules and terms and conditions down. I think we're going to end up learning as we go. I think that's a slippery slope. I think it opens up Pandora's box, and I think it would be a pretty bad situation for us to end up debating at some point in time where they say they're following the rules, we're saying they're not, and it turns into something that we could have prohibited by saying no. So I feel very strongly that this is not right, and I will vote no on this.
What are the consequences of saying no?
Turn your mic. Sorry. Well, it's a legislative decision.
So there is no
Say no.
consequence.
This is when you're acting in the role of the zoning commission doing the text amendment application. This is a little unique. You have the highest level of discretion. You could just say no. If you feel that strongly, just as Anita brought to our attention her position, you could say no. You're not bound by approving this, but they've made some tweaks to it to address some of the commissioners' concerns. So you're free to do what you want, Jim.
Okay, well, listen to the dialogue and
We're still on the amendment though, right?
Still the amendment, yes.
call the question.
Well, as a practical matter, I don't know whether with the amendment, whether they anticipated growing and drying it into the greenhouse aspect or having a separate room for it. That I don't know what the intention was and where they want to go with that. So I'm kind of in the in a position where I just don't know how that would affect with the plan. I wish the council was here so that's the question.
In my opinion, being that you would want to dry it in a non-humidity area in the greenhouse. It's very humid, so you're probably going to want to dry it in the.
Okay.
I mean, you can take it out too because that's really not. If you wanted to, that you could say drying could be either or. I don't really think that's a big deal. I mean, Matt, you made the drying part of it. I don't think you'd want to dry it in the greenhouse, but that would be my professional opinion. But
I don't think it's gonna be offensive one way or the other, so, and actually, I don't think it's gonna pass right now, but.
Well, with that amendment, all those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
3,
3.
fails.
All right,
Need
on
5
the,
affirmative votes.
How many?
5. You only got 4.
this isn't the majority of the people there?
It's the majority of the people here.
3, 6, 7.
Why does it have to be 5?
I'm sorry?
Why does it have to be 5?
Simple majority.
You need it. Can it be 4?
It could be 4, simple majority. There's
Simple
no pro,
majority.
there was no protest on this text amendment, so the 2/3 vote doesn't apply.
Then it passes.
It passes.
The amendment passed.
Right. Now,
The question hasn't.
no, now for the, give everybody a chance to stop around, chance to, share their discussion on the amendment, on the zone check change.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Now we're on the main.
How, I don't see how this benefits the town. I see how it benefits the individual, but what does the town get by changing zones to be more liberal? That's, that's why I'm hesitant. I'm not sure where I'm going on this vote yet, but I want to hear the rest of the.
I'm going to vote yes for several reasons. I think it does benefit the town. It's a business. We're trying to grow business. They addressed the security. There's been no thefts. We talked about smells forever, and they've done the best to do the mitigating of the smells. We often talk about the public, and nobody came to comment negatively. There was one letter and one guy who was came here for a different reason and decided to speak. So there was no objection to it. I think they did a great job trying to convince us and trying to grow their business. He said that it's for financial reasons. Obviously, he wants to make money instead of growing hemp. So for that, I'm going to vote yes.
I have no comment.
I'm also going to vote yes. For the one reason that it's right now, hemp is an agricultural product. They can grow it down there without any certain fans or any smell mitigation, odor mitigation, and I think this, because it's cannabis, brings in the fact that they're going to have to make a situation correct, and they have to follow the rules that they put forward, and I believe it'll be a benefit for the facility, and the smell has to be gone. If it's not going to be gone, we have teeth to shut the business down. And like I said before, I'll take the next crack at the greenhouse because that's in the next site plan. If that was in this, it'd be a different story. But the fact that the greenhouse is in the site plan, I have no problem with this.
I intend on voting no. Before this application, I didn't think I'd ever vote no for business in town. I don't see enough benefit. I see an attractive nuisance for criminal activity. With 15 minutes of reading, it's plain to see that there is problems with facilities like this. The applicant stated that they weren't aware of anything. Doesn't take long to find that out. They originally denied the smell. I think they said it was something like 25 feet from the facility. Now they're trying to use the smell to get a zone text change. So I'm a no vote.
For the same reasons I mentioned earlier, I'm a no vote on this. I think once the genie gets out of the bottle, corking it is going to be a problem. If we start to run into problems, yes, we've got some things in place where we've got some mitigation steps we can take, but at what cost? The residents are sitting here putting up with this until we figure it out. And I just don't think that this is in the best interest of the residents until maybe there's some grass growing under the feet and we've got some more experience or seeing how others are doing it successfully. You know, maybe we could reconsider, but honest to goodness, I just don't want to be the test kitten for this. I think there's enough going on here in town, and that this is not something we need to add to our plates right now.
I intend to vote yes. Going through the Plan of Conservation and Development, which says that, there's a statement in it that says farming is a valuable economic driver in the town of Cheshire and should be protected. When we looked at the issues of safety, there was no expert witness or no competent evidence in front of us that showed that there was similar places had a safety problem in consideration in this town, and that the evidence presented on the record showed that, in fact, the level of criminality around legitimate grow operations is very low. And as far as the noxiousness and the smell is concerned, it's in an industrial area. Bizzuto's has over 500 trucks that spew diesel fuel out in this town. When you compare, when you weigh the other aspects that are things that are allowed in the industrial zone, agricultural odor from a grow house that is mitigated is far less noxious than many other things that we regularly permit, don't even ask about. And as far as safety and the test issue is concerned, this is the single most regulated industry that would be in our zoning books. It is more highly regulated than anything else that we do, including toxic and hazardous waste. As a zoning commission, that I think that they've gone, and I understand that with something new and different, people are cautious. And it is, as far as I'm concerned, they're overregulated, but that's what's gonna happen when you have a new industry coming in for the first time, until people do that. I think there's enough safety and enough redundancy in the proposed regulations that would meet anyone's concerns, and that is now a legitimate, if not highly regulated business that is permitted in the state of Connecticut. And for those reasons, I intend to vote in favor of it. And I guess that will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah, so
Passes.
5-2.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
at your discretion, could you move 3, could we take up 4 next?
Without objection?
Motion to approve application for a special permit on behalf of Doug Levens, Executive Director of Cheshire Community YMCA applicant. Applicant's requesting a special permit pursuant to Section 30 of the zoning regulations for a gym and fitness center located at 435 North Brooksvale Road, Assessors Map 77, Lot 12, Zone R20. Commission finds, based on the presentation documents provided, that applicants demonstrated compliance with the Cheshire zoning regulations.
Move the wording.
Moved, second. Discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have
Chairman,
it.
I'd like to recuse myself for the next item on the agenda.
Be well.
Good night.
Good night. And for the next item on the agenda.
So I have motion to approve application for subdivision on behalf of Birdsey Development LLC applicants requesting a 25-lot re-subdivision at the property located at 466 Academy Road, Assessors Map 58, Lot 45, and 0 Academy Road, Assessors Map 58, Lot 47, Zone R20. The approval is based on plans titled Farm Meadow Preserve Residential Development prepared by SLR Consulting with a revision date of November 25th, 2025. The commission finds, based on the information provided, that the applicant has demonstrated compliance with the Cheshire subdivision regulations. The approval is subject to the following conditions. 1, conditions of approval from Inland Wetlands Permit are incorporated into the commission's approval. 2, final plan shall illustrate, and this is maybe something to debate for the commission, final plan shall illustrate sidewalks on both sides of the proposed roadway. C, the waiver relief for both sides of the proposed street is denied and not approved by the commission. And lastly, D, prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy, applicant is to provide legal documents to the HOA, the homeowners association, which are to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney. Said document is to be filed with the Cheshire Land Records prior to issuance of any certificate of occupancy.
Staff order.
Second.
Clarification on a couple things.
Yes.
I got
It's gonna take a while.
It's okay.
Right. You know how you said you can't make someone do sidewalks off-site?
Yep.
If that property fronts on Academy Road, how is that off-site? I don't understand that part.
Existing road. So you can only require sidewalks on proposed roads. You can't require sidewalks on existing roads.
Okay.
That's, that court case that I said earlier, Buttermilk, it really tied our hands.
No, I just needed to understand,
Yep.
because I see that as all part of the subdivision.
I
Okay.
agree with,
Thank you.
Just clarification on the motion. Did you, with the mention of the 2 sidewalks?
I have 2 sidewalks on there. Do you want to, we could amend it to say a waiver and then say one sidewalk to be in the interior curve of the proposed road and the other to be the frontage along Weiss. I wasn't sure which way the commission was going based on the discussion, so
But you wrote in here withdrawn by the applicant.
that was, I'm sorry, copy and paste. That's a mistake by my behalf.
How did you read it? I don't know how you-
Denied.
Was it denied?
Well, I'm just assuming, I put that in there if you wanted the sidewalks based on the discussion for both sides.
To me, I've never seen it done this way. I've always seen it done, the sidewalk waiver by itself.
Separate.
Right? I mean,
Do we want to take up the sidewalk waiver first
Sure.
and withdraw that? I think, for business, for moving along.
Or, I mean, I can clean this motion up for the next meeting. You have time, by statute, you have time, but I mean, this is really an administrative review. It meets all your regs.
Right, so basically the issue is the sidewalk.
Yep.
So what's the pleasure of the body?
We can discuss the sidewalk waiver tonight, so we're here. It's the end
why
of the
not?
day.
We're here. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, yeah.
We should.
I'm always in favor of the 2 sidewalks. I agree with you on that. But when we have our town employee telling us, in this instance, he's taking it one by one, this is not going forward, right? This is just because of this property, he's making this recommendation. The fact that they said that they would do Weiss Road if we gave them the sidewalk waiver makes me more inclined to vote for that. I know it's less than what both sidewalks would be, but I'm not saying it does benefit them, I guess, but the fact that Merritt said he would like to see it that way, I always take the opinion of a town employee.
Like yourself, I am loath to substitute my judgment as a commissioner with an engineer who taken. And on that, I agree with you that I always defer to experts in areas where I don't have the expertise. And with that in mind, and with the fact that we would lose the contiguousness with Weiss Road, also I am inclined to vote in favor of the sidewalk waiver. I think the public safety and the public interest are more aligned with the waiver and their commitment to off-site than with double sidewalks.
Yeah, the inclusion of Weiss Road is acceptable to me.
So could you just change that on?
I'm typing it right now for you, and I'll read it to the commission.
It's been motion, it's already in the second, we'll have, once he
So-
finishes it, we'll hear it, and then we'll have to accept it.
So this is, so as part of the approval, the commission grants a waiver for the requirement of sidewalks on both sides of the proposed roadway. The applicant has agreed to install one sidewalk along the interior curve of the proposed roadway and a sidewalk along the frontage of Weiss Road. And then with that, I'm going to say you delete C from that, and I'll reread the conditions of approval. And I'll send this to you, Colleen. So then we're deleting the third item, so it'll read now as, final plan shall illustrate sidewalks along the interior curve of the proposed roadway and the frontage along Weiss Road. So you do,
I accept that.
In a second.
You accept that?
They accept it as a friendly amendment?
Yes, accept.
And then as far as the whole motion, I would say, you know, I'm always sad to see another farm go. It's a beautiful piece of property, but these landowners have rights, and it meets our regulations, and I will be voting in favor.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. So, I agree with EJ. You know, I expected more people to object, not that there was anything we could do, but it's always sad to see a farm that's been there over 100 years. People won't be happy with it, but we have to do what we need to do as a commission, so we're doing what is needed.
This is administrative, council was right, this was administrative, it meets our regulations. We are compelled to vote in favor of it, whether we like it or not, that doesn't play into it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, do we have anything else?
you're gonna have a site plan at the next meeting, and I will not be at the next meeting. Lena will be covering it, so it'd be nice.
Site plan for what?
It'll be Lot 4, Stonebridge Crossing. You have,
Oh, that's
you have it in your packet. It just, I told him not to come tonight because I knew that this public hearing process would be long, so.
All right, so, all in favor? Aye. Aye? The ayes have it.